Hey, it's Shaves, and welcome to another expedition of the Anime Encyclopedia. And I got a webcam, finally. Oh my gosh. And it's gonna be kind of hard to, like, it's in a different spot where, like, okay, so I usually have a phone that I like, I'm a very vain person, so I like looking at myself a lot and, like, seeing how I'm looking and stuff. But if I look to see how I'm looking, the OBS is on this thing, and it's kind of weird to talk over here with my attention this way for the most part. Not I don't want to do like the whole time. I want to acknowledge the audience a little bit. So I'm trying to figure that out, I suppose. Let me know if the levels are good. I'm assuming they're good. I want to actually be able to hear the audio for once. So let me know if that's okay. Because that happens all the time where, like, I put the audio too low and then you can't even hear any music during it. I know because I have to do the time codes after the stream's over, and then I'm like, I put the music too damn low. You can't hear anything. And I don't like the stream being, like, quiet if I can help it. Hello. First time catching this live. Sweet. Good to see you guys. I need to... I guess I'll put it over here, like the chat, so that it looks like I'm looking at the chat and then on the stream, I guess. But I got like the I got the encyclopedia on this screen. I got my notes over here. So I think it's nice. I'm just trying to get used to like talking into this thing that I don't see myself necessarily. I don't see how I'm looking or whatever. But I'm happy to finally see myself, I guess. But I also couldn't figure out. Sounds good. Thank you. Hey, Greg. I also couldn't figure out the desktop thing of like, because I needed to be a smaller size and cropped and stuff like that, and it wasn't working. Like it would work. It would do it would affect the whole thing. I'm such a stuttering mess. I'm sorry. I think it's because I'm rusty after a week. But I have this instead. Oh, great. Oh, yeah. That's what I wanted. Stream health. No, let me just have it out like that. I have my my avatar instead. I think it's pretty good. It's a pretty good substitute for now. I have to kind of like YouTube it and figure it out, I guess. Oh well. Yeah. So today we got just the third edition. To go over some of the entries from beginning of C through to Cleopatra. And I also wanted to catch up a little bit on some of the articles that they have in this encyclopedia. I've been wanting to like distribute them out. Yo, Fullwood Man, good to see you. I've been wanting to like distribute them, and I haven't read any in a while. So during like the third editions is when I really want to do these sorts of readings. The one tonight is going to be about Argot and Jargon. The article is called Argot and Jargon, which is, they have basically a little blurb at the beginning, kind of given a little overview, and then some basic terminology and their descriptions of each one, as well as some other terms that they try to avoid, some, acronyms and initials and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what they have how they describe these terms that we all have an understanding of. I have not read this article yet. I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested in what they say. I think so far their articles have been interesting. I haven't read all of them. I've only read like a couple, like the intro and things like that. Hello. But I wanted to wait a few more minutes before we get started. I'm also really cold. You're wearing my wearing a sweater and junk, but I should probably get like hot chocolate or something. I'll probably do that. I think I'm probably gonna do that. It'll take like a few minutes. Probably should have done it before stream, but whatever. I did start stream early just because like I didn't have much else going on, so why not? But I think after I read this article, and before we go into like the notes and things like that, I'm gonna make myself some hot chocolate because I am kind of chilly. Oh well. I think it's also like our house. It's they keep it at a particular temperature, and then they're like, you can change it if you want. And I'm like, but I don't want to. I'm gonna have the responsibility of changing the temperature like that. I'll let them be the dictators of that. That's fine. That's just that's just me, I guess. Anywho, let's read Argot and Jargon. I got 605. So let's get into it. Anime appreciation has developed a slang all its own, incorporating a number of Japanese words. Anime appreciation has developed it's hard for me to like say it. I need to I want to focus on like saying it so you can understand it, but also like that I have to process it too. Has developed a slang all its own, incorporating a number of Japanese words, often with uses different from those employed in their country of origin. So they're probably talking about like otaku, how it's a negative term in Japanese, and it's used as a term of endearment in the United States and elsewhere. We believe such terms present an unnecessary barrier to comprehension for the newcomer. Okay, that's why they don't use them, but like, they still exist, you know? It's sort of like, it's one thing to not, they don't like it or don't appreciate it, another thing to just kind of deny its existence entirely. I guess they're not really denying its existence given that they're making this article right now, but that's certainly what their approach was in the first edition. But I think that does lead to some confusion, I think. Consequently, with the exception of the terms anime and manga, we have used them as little as possible in this book. Right. This entry is designed to point out certain words to aid the reader in understanding some of the more opaque fan texts. The better anime publicate... And that's the other thing, it's like, okay, well, how... I do wonder how much other publications avoid these terms, like other various magazines or Anime News Network, because you get into the community, you're going to get these things inevitably. So I feel like it's, I don't know. It's not like I'm super like clutch my pearls over these terms. I get that they can be really obtuse, but if anything, I think I remember very early on where I was watching Oron and the dub would keep the honorifics in, like san and chan and senpai and things like that, and it made me think. It really got me like curious and interested. That's that's an anecdotal personal experience, but I don't know. Knowing that something is from Japan, I think is actually a benefit and something interesting. It gives you better context for what's going on, I think. Sorry if I'm just derailing a lot. The better anime publications refuse to use them unless absolutely necessary. Okay. In order to ensure that new readers are not baffled by a slew of obtuse terminology. You know what's funny? That reminds me of kind of a similar thing that they do here in this encyclopedia. I know their reason for it, but we've talked about it before with the very media poisoned referencing of a lot of different anime. They're like, it's like this, it's like this, it's like it's from this thing, it's from this thing, it's from this. I feel like it's kind of similar. If a newcomer read the article on Chobits, for example, which I'll talk about, I'll mention it, I'll read it out, but like, if they read that, it's like every other word is referencing a different anime. And it's like, what? Especially as a newcomer, I don't know. I think that's just as alienating. I get the fear of alienation, but I personally think it's like, it's inevitable. Like, it's not even just the publications it's like communities, you can't stop them from doing this. So you kind of have to either go with the flow, help people out. We don't want to turn this into gatekeeping. I'm not saying get good or anything, but I don't know. Despite this, many mainstream journalists love to use as many as possible when covering anime, because it suggests they know what they are talking about. Maybe. That could certainly be true, but it could also be a sense of like just the community speak and it, like people like community, like the fans talk like they know what they're talking about all the time. It's coming from a sense of confidence. It's coming from these guys are like the encyclopedists here are absolutely no different. from trying, because you're trying to be persuasive, you're trying to sound authoritative so that people listen to you, right? I don't know if outright using those terms is that, yeah, you should listen to me because I'm using these big terms or whatever. It'd be kind of similar to, it's actually kind of similar to how these guys sometimes, they use these certain words that are very high level, I guess, or just some words I've never heard of or used before, that they're English words, I guess, but I have to like look them up in the I have to have them define it in this online text to even know what they're talking about. So like, how different is that really? Because it's just, the terms are also very popular with fans who cannot speak Japanese but like to imply that they can. See what I mean? More contempt for the anime, for the average anime fan. You know, it's like, what if some people, like, are you just going to assume that they don't know Japanese because they're using these words, and maybe because, like, if they're using otaku in like the positive sense, then maybe, but then you're just going to assume that they don't know Japanese? You're just going to assume they haven't tried? Maybe they've tried to learn kana and maybe they're studying it, or they are fluent in it? You have no idea. It's very judgmental of them to assume that. And also just cast this wide net again on anime fans as a whole. From what I've experienced, if you're new, people will gladly tell you what terms mean, so I don't really get the issue. I know. It's I think their concern might be gatekeeping, and I can understand the concern, for sure. Oh, I thought this was a certain track I like. Never mind. I forgot my train of thought. I'm sorry, I got distracted by the music. Yeah, no, you're right. They can just, it's a form of it's like a potential fear of gatekeeping when I don't think it's that big of a deal. Anyway, that's their blurb on it. Giving this giant caveat of like, don't use these words, basically. Now let's see them define each of these words and describe each one, knowing that they have full contempt of these words. Awesome, love it. Basic terminology. I'm gonna have put like a what is it? It's like a checklist, like a little bubble thing, like blurb. I don't know. Anime refers to animation from Japan. Other terms to use doga. Other terms to use include doga, moving pictures. By our definition, a work is Japanese if the majority of the main creatives, director, scriptwriter, character designer, and key animators, are Japanese. Within Japan, the term anime refers to any form of animation, including foreign cartoons. We employ it specifically to distinguish Japanese animation from products of other nations. There have been attempts among unscrupulous Western distributors to call anything anime that looks remotely Japanese. It's true. We do not subscribe to this deception and file such titles as false friends. What? False friends is like a hyperlink. And it's oh my gosh, it's their own, it's its own article. It's its own separate article called False Friends, which in parentheses says French faux amis are translation problems where words in two different languages appear to be alike have to what? Yeah, so they have an entire article about false friends, I guess. Let me search up basic term. That sent a hyperlink. Basic term knowledge. I'm okay with the stream going over 2 hours, by the way. I'm very upset. I started an hour early, so I should be okay. Yep, basic terminology. Okay. I do agree with them there, though. I do like having that very much distinction, you know, because it does lead that in the opposite, like saying, "Hey, SpongeBob is anime." It can go the other way around, where you're like, "No, Teen Titans is anime," you know. If a Japanese origin is not of fundamental importance in the definition of anime, then it is a futile pretension to use the term at all. If a Japanese origin is not of fundamental importance, right, in the definition of anime, then it is a futile pretension to use the term at all. Right, why would we just say? And we might as well call everything cartoons. The term Japanese anime is a tautology. Is it tautology? See what I mean? It's like these, I don't know these words. And they do say, they explain, since anime is Japanese by definition. Tautology. Define. The saying of the same thing twice over in different words. Generally considered to be a fault of style. They arrived one after the other in succession. Right. Oh, so the fact that it's repetitive, I guess. The term Japanese anime is a tautology. Right. Yeah, okay. I agree, because Japanese anime, it's like, what, as opposed to what? Korean anime? Right? Some sources, particularly in Japan, use the term Japanimation, which was deliberately promoted by some companies in America as a viable alternative. However, the term has proved unpopular abroad, through its inevitable separation into the component parts Jap and animation, Jap being a pejorative term with wartime associations. I agree. Don't call it that. No, don't call it Japanimation. That's a very 90s term as well. A different bullet point. That was what I was thinking of. God damn it. Among Japanese critics, however, there is still considerable debate over whether the term anime can and should be applied to all animation from Japan. Okay, they're digging a little deeper in here. That's cool. The author Nobuyuki Tsugada suggests instead that true anime is actually a kind of Japanese animation, distinguished by a series of tropes, traditions, and trends arising during the 60s and 70s. His definition, which has been adapted and augmented several times in the last decade, encompasses merchandise-oriented TV shows from Astro Boy onward, but also the rise of straight-to-video animation, fan-oriented narratives, and the intersection of the related media of comics, computer games, prose fiction, and character goods to create an entire ecology of consumption. So, anime being anime as mixed media, basically. Anime for Sugata is also a pejorative. Anime for Sugata is also a pejorative, directed since the 1970s at a certain type of animation by the self-styled classier practitioners of film festival shorts and art house movies. In other words, they make Japanese animation, whereas anime is the junk on TV and in video store bargain bins. That actually does check out with that idea that where the term anime came from, with Gisabo Rasugi and Osamu Tezuka, and Osamu Tezuka says it's not animation, it's anime. Because it doesn't, it's kind of an abbreviated form of animation. It's not like the fluidly moving things like the Toei movies in the 50s. It's more so it moves when it needs to, and only the mouths really move, And that's like anime in the same way. I get that. False friend is actually a common term in linguistics. They didn't invent it. I wasn't. At first, I had heard of it. I wasn't sure if I was saying it, implying that they invented it. I just had no. I wasn't familiar with it. For similar reasons, some practitioners, such as Hayao Miyazaki, have been heard to describe their own works once more as manga eiga, or cartoon films, in an attempt to disassociate themselves from the porn and toy franchises to be found in anime proper. Okay. Kind of take it or leave it, neither here nor there on that. Although it does sort of like, what does that really say about their people's perspective on TV anime that actually tries to do cool things and experiments, and that they really puts it divides it into two camps, right? Of the movies like Akira and Ghost in the Shell and Metropolis and the things that the academics talk about, versus TV anime, which is just junk. It's just a manga adaptation. It's meant to sell toys, or it's just porn, right? Kind of dismissive of a lot of art that goes into that. It's just much of an art form as the rest of animation. Manga is the next bullet point. Manga refers to comics from Japan. As with anime, the term is used slightly differently in Japan itself, where it once meant caricature, drifted semantically into the same basic area as cartoon, and has meant comic for the last 50 years or so. That's interesting. As with anime, claiming that something can be a manga even if it's not from Japan is rather pointless in the English language. You might as well call everything comics. There is, nevertheless, a growing number of artists in the West who claim they draw in a manga style, itself a meaningless term. Since manga are so varied, there is no such thing as a single style. I agree. I agree. I think it's sort of like, it is sort of a marketing gimmick. It is to sort of like buy into that market that are just kind of hungry for more of what looks like that, you know. A mangaka is a manga creator. In the 90s, an anime company called Manga Entertainment established itself as a very powerful brand in the European market that both of them worked for. Ensuring that to this day the term manga video in most of Europe actually means anime. However, in Japan, the term manga video actually refers to a video showing pages of a comic, while off-screen actors read it aloud. We never said that this would be easy. We never said this would be easy. I guess in terms of like terminology and stuff. Other terms. Bullet point. BronCon. Literally, the Braun tube is an archaic Japanese term for television, deriving its name not from the color brown, but from Ferdinand Braun, the German inventor of the cathode ray tube. BronCon. Okay, never heard of that. That's interesting. I'm happy, like already, like off the bat, they give us a term that I've never heard. It's not just like otaku, hentai, you know. Not to denigrate, but I don't like how Korean and Chinese animation are being called anime these days, at least on Mal. If it's really just style, then Castlevania and Avatar should be on Mal. Yeah, I do get that. I don't have too much of an opinion on that, I guess. I can see where you're coming from, but it is interesting. Yeah. Especially with like how in the conversation Tower of God and God of High School were at the time. Although I'm not as intimate of how, I think it was with Studio, right? So there's a lot of Japanese there's a lot of like Japanese staff, right? But then again, there's a lot of Japanese properties that have a lot of Korean staff, right? They're outsourced to Korea, etc. It's getting muddy, but you know, you have to kind of still recognize what the term is being fundamentally used for. I don't know. CB means child body. And, you know, if Mal had something that like, if you were able to distinguish that this is from Korea, this is from China sort of deal, which you can kind of already do based on the official title, like besides the localized title, you can kind of tell with like a lot of Chinese anime. I think if they had some sort of insignia, you know how like a Pokemon have like a little star to show that they're a shiny Pokemon, you know, like a little insignia or something to show that this is actually from this country or a different country that's not Japan, basically. And they can still so you can kind of like have both. You can both understand that there's a distinguishing factor, but not make it exclusive, not make it exclusionary. Because I do think it's important to have titles like Tower of God or God of High School listed, because it is kind of a moment in this particular community. Yeah, I've always found the dismissal of TV anime to be an annoying thing. As much as I love movies, consider most of the greatest animated Japanese works to be TV series. Right. From what I understand, Mal started including Chinese and Korean animation because manhwa and manhwa got adapted, so they started listing the adaptation. And hell, even a lot of the best anime movies are sequels or real to series. Yeah. CB means child body, and is a pun on chibi. Oh. Cool. You know, you always hear that term chibi everywhere, but it's supposed to be CB. Chibi. Wow. Oh, wow. That's cool. It refers to childlike caricatures of particular characters, known in moments of embarrassment or comedy, occasionally in comical sequences. The term has fallen out of use in recent years. Has it now? And seem to have been merged with the similar SD. QV. SD. I'm scrolling later down, I just want to see what that is. SD means super deformed, or sometimes squashed down. In both cases, it refers to squat cartoon variants of characters used in parodies or in comical sequences. See also CB. Oh, interesting. So there are kind of two. I always thought they were in the same umbrella of CB, but interesting. Summer of the Gods is a French animated film based on a manga coming out, and I know Mal will never put it on their site. Right. Yeah, I meant to say related. Fair. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah. But so far, this is great. The actual other terms break it is actually really nice. I don't like their dismissal of it, but yeah. Chokyo is a subcategory of hentai about the breaking in of new sexual conquests through abuse and domination. First, I would never know that, considering I don't watch literally any hentai, but that's interesting. I knew what SD meant. Hey. Cours, plural, courses, is the French term for a period of time, used in Japan to refer to a television season of 13 weeks. Because the S is silent in French and invisible in Japanese, this has often been misspelled in English as core. Yeah, like, so core is like one core. Yeah, I did one core, one multiple cores. Yeah. What's poppin', Cozy? Good seeing you. Cut in English is the term in Japanese to refer to a shot, i.e. the piece of film. I would think this is more like fandom terms and not like film terms, I guess. The piece of film between two cuts. We repeat it here because it is one of the most common false friends in translations of interviews with Japanese animators, who often speak of special effects cuts or the number of cuts required to complete a scene. So they're just they're just like being kind of like, actually it refers to a shot, like the piece of film between two cuts. Yeah. So you mean like I don't know. Hey man, good seeing you. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Repeat here because, all right. I don't know what that's all they say about that, or the number of cuts required to complete a scene. And so like how are people misusing that? I don't know. Cosplay is a contraction of costume play and means dressing up. So that is where the term cours comes from. This is actually pretty information, pretty informative. Yeah, I agree. It's really great. Doujinshi are amateur publications or fanzines. E-Conti means storyboards, a comic-style run-through of the scenes in an animated film, depicting everything on a shot-by-shot basis. The term derives from the Japanese e, meaning picture, and continuity. E-Conti. Yeah. It's true, because the Japanese katakana for storyboard is C-O-N. It's like the romanization of that is like C-O-N-T-I that I've seen personally, but then the Japanese is like the katakana konchi, and that's storyboarding. Fan service is a temporary suspension of the concerns of the story in order to pander to a sense of camp, the male gaze, or metatextuality, or like just the male gaze? Is there so female like male fan service doesn't exist? Of like of hot boys and stuff like that? Guess not. The male gaze or metatextuality on the part of the audience. Usually images and moments in which the female characters lose their clothes or pose provocatively. Yeah, oftentimes. I think you could have a wider net than that. Supposedly, this is because it is a special gift to the loyal fans on the part of the animators. Often it is a creepy objectification that only encourages moe. Moe in certain sectors and derision from non-fans. Often it is a creepy objectification that only encourages moe in certain sectors and derision from non-fans. Fan service need not always be sexually suggestive. There is, for example, such a thing as mecha fan service, foregrounding machinery at the expense of other aspects, or hiding visual gags in single frames of swift action. The term suggests that the phenomenon somehow serves the wants and needs of anyone who truly appreciates a show. While this may be sometimes true, the authors object to the implication that every time a show sucks or falters in its naturalism, it is somehow the fault of the audience. I would assume in the 2000s a lot of people may have been confused by cuts, because in English film that usually describes something removed from the final film. Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay. The term suggests that the phenomenon somehow serves the wants and needs of anyone who truly appreciates a show. While this may sometimes be true, the authors object to the implication that every time a show sucks or falters in its naturalism, so it's like when it's not being metatextual or protruding particularly to the audience, I guess, that every time a show sucks, it is somehow the fault of the audience. I don't know where that logic's going. That seemed weird to me. Did the authors object to the implication that every time a show sucks or falters in its naturalism, it is somehow the fault of the audience? Wait. Are you trying to say, like, if a person says that it has fan service, therefore it sucks, is a bad argument? Because I would agree with that. Like, you kind of have to, you can't just be, like, generalist about that necessarily. You kind of have to be more particular, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. Ganime is a term coined in 2006 as an umbrella title for a series of still animated video releases. Produced jointly by the publisher Gentosha and the studio Toei Animation, these often amounted to little more than voiceovers and sound effects over still images, replicating the effect of the old Kamishibai paper theaters of the early 20th century, right? Considered as extremely limited animation, they barely warrant inclusion in an encyclopedia of this nature. Although they do utilize talent and connections from the anime business proper, and are connected to fuller animation through earlier precedents such as Nagisa Oshima's Manual of Ninja Martial Arts. Okay. When was this part on Moe written? It sounds very mid-2000s take. It could have been 2006 when the second edition came out. I'm getting a call. I'm gonna ignore it and then text her that I'm streaming. Apologies, fellas. Okay. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's probably mid-2000s take, or it could have been rewritten for 2015. Gekiga, literally dramatic pictures, are supposedly comics for adults, roughly equivalent to the Western term graphic novels. The term, however, is rarely used in contemporary Japan, and seems to date from the time when the term comic still contained a juvenile implication. I would have felt like they still talk about Gekiga, though. Is it really not that? Is it? I guess it's like an older term, like way back when like Go-Go started, basically, and they don't consider it the same way anymore. Maybe. Rarely used in contemporary Japan. Okay, fair enough then. Hentai is anime erotica. The term first spread among koi fans and distributors who preferred to use a foreign term for their pornography, and then among porn consumers and distributors in search of a means of classifying the animated variant separately from the live-action version. Since the term literally means perverse, it is sometimes found contracted to the letter H, or its Japanese pronunciation, ecchi or etchi. E-T-C-H-I. Some have claimed that the contraction is softer in meaning than the full. Some have claimed that the contraction is softer in meaning than the full term. Calling a Japanese boy H, ecchi, might be flirtatious as opposed to the more insulting hentai. Okay. Yeah. Pretty much does what it has to do. Explains both, basically. I have a bone to pick with their description of fan service, especially mecha fan service being something not related to the story. Detailing the mechanical elements helps make the world real. Yeah, I think it, and I think they'll be like, oh, okay, and the hentai makes the world real. They could probably draw the same lines and stuff. It's like, oh, in that case, then sexual fan service, blah blah blah. But yeah, I don't know. The kind of look down the nose attitude towards fan service, I think, is a little biased. I think you could be a bit more pragmatic about that. Like, you could still understand that it's very manipulative, but to be very like cynical and kind of curmudgeon-y about it, I think is not the right approach, personally. Leica Reel, Leica Reel, Reel, is the Japanese industry term for what was known in the West as animatics, a movie made using the storyboards for production. Oh, yeah, so we call them animatics. Right. So it's called Leica Reel in Japan. Interesting. In order to check timings, and often used as the visual track to which the voice actors will record their dialogue while the actual visuals are still being animated. Leica is a camera manufacturer that seems to have entered Japanese slang as a name for one of its products, such as Hotchkiss in Japanese continues to mean stapler. Oh yeah, that's fair. That's interesting. Cool. I never knew that as a term. Like, that's what that stage of animatic is for. That's pretty cool. I was familiar with that, but I didn't know that was what it was called in Japan. That's cool. LN is a light novel, a pointless neologism. Right out the gate. Fuck you. There's a pointless neologism. Neologism. What the hell is a neologism? Let's define it. Neologism. A pointless... No definition found? What's that? Okay. I'm going to search neologism. A newly coined word or expression. A pointless neologism. It's just a new word. Okay. For a novella. Often cited as the source materials for modern anime, or as spin-offs from same. Modern Japanese slang, I feel like there is something a little bit different about a light novel from a novella. Like, you could, if that's purely by dictating by length, that is one thing, but at least what I thought it was supposed to mean, like a light novel, is sort of comparable to like early preteen teen books, the way that they are formatted differently. Like, you look at like a regular book, and it's very one-point font, like like in terms of spacing, and they also use whatever language they want, regular books. But light novels, and then you think of like Secrets of Droon from the United States, or like Artemis Fowl, or stuff like that, where they're using words that kids that age can understand, and it's in simple language, and I may be making assumptions about light novels, but like I actually have a light novel here, and this is not of like my own. Like, I actually do have Sword Online light novel, and this is it's my roommate's, I swear. But let me like it has pictures and stuff, right? And the chapters are short. I don't know. It feels more like a book for teens. You know what I mean? Like, the spacing is a little bigger. The wording, it's got a lot of pictures, right? I don't know. This is not novella in the same way. It's also not, like, novellas doesn't imply that they're serialized, right? Like, this is very, very serialized. Like, that's kind of the thing with light novels, and it's similar to, like, a lot of tween books. is that it's a long series and stuff, and there's multiple. It's a franchise type of thing. I think there's a lot more distinguishing things that can really determine it being a light novel in the same, like, besides being a novella, I think, to distinguish it personally. But I am kind of jumping the gun here. Let me just read the rest of this, I guess. I've always seen light novels as a Japanese version of the sort of pulp fiction novels popular in America in the 20s through 50s. Yeah. Modern Japanese slang sometimes reduces the term to ranobe, abbreviated from Raito Noberu. Raito Noberu! I'll never get over the Ojimaju Doremi comedy theater shorts. Over the first episode, the Doremi's like, but in the light novels, we're so cool looking. Why do we look like this? She's like, but daga light Noberu. Because they often come out in short serialized books or magazines and are mostly genre fiction aimed at nerds. Yeah, exactly. Rising in visibility since the 80s, where their exponents included Motoko Arai, light novels form a substantial part of young adult fiction in Japan, both in portable, commuter-friendly paperbacks and as ebooks to read on phones and other devices. The term, however, seemingly promising and also precluding novelistic density, is most often seen as a marketing buzzword designed to excuse low page counts and pulpy prose. Yeah, okay. Often dialogue heavy, but otherwise insubstantial. Right, exactly. Like there's probably more dialogue than like prose and descriptions and like a little real like novel would have. You could call them big short stories, but then that would be BS. Yeah, haha. That's what I mean. Like they're acknowledging here that there is something to kind of distinguish them away from novellas, but they're still being like, oh, pointless neologism. You know? Lolicon, or Lolicom, is a contraction of Lolita Complex, an unhealthy interest in underage girls exemplified by the Lolita anime. Its rarer male variant is Shotokan. And they have their own article about Lolita anime. They got their... That's all they're going to say about that for now. There will be its own article later on. Mecha. This is a big one for them. Mecha literally refers to mechanical items or machinery, a subset of anime appreciation for all those boys who like to see how things work, and a feature of much Japanese animation since the recreation of military hardware in animentary critical moments, and broadly applying to any concentration on machinery, such as Initial D's obsession with engine interiors. Obsession with engine interiors? I guess. I wouldn't necessarily... I guess if there is a little focus on it in the same way. But you're right, that would count as mecha, in terms of the depiction of it. However, among general anime fandom, in both Japan and the West, mecha is far more... I bet if it was mostly the West, they would look down on it a lot more heavy. Just saying. Mecha is far more likely to be applied specifically to what the Encyclopedia of Science Fiction calls a pilotable or remote operable machine, often bipedal or otherwise humanoid in form. These have become ubiquitous, largely for their role in long-running franchises such as Transformers or Gundam, in which they are... But Transformers are But like... A pilotable or remote operable machine. They're neither of those. Transformers. Like, yeah, it's still a mecha, don't get me wrong, but it's funny that they go for Transformers or Gundam. It's because of the audience that they're targeting for. It's like, you know Transformers, right? You know, in which they are context-integrated elements of storylines that only exist to sell tie-in toys. Awesome! Oh, that's great. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so great. That's so, what a great definition. In which they are, These have become ubiquitous largely for their role in long-running franchises like Transformers or Gundam, in which they are context-integrated elements of storylines that only exist to sell tie-in toys. Love it. As argued by Lelaine Lucrat in her study Asunk on Sil avec Goldorak, many viewers under 8... You can't pilot a Transformer, I know. Many viewers under 8 years old are unable to distinguish the finer points between a bipedal mecha vehicle and a self-aware mecha entity. So they... Yeah, okay, because they do look the same. Like, so what? Which often tempts the authors of this encyclopedia to similarly write off all such occurrences as giant robots. Like... I guess that sort of states a bias against mecha. Jesus. As argued by Lelaine Lurkat in her study, many viewers under 8 years old are unable to distinguish the finer points between a bipedal mecha vehicle and a self-aware mecha entity, which often tempts the authors of this encyclopedia to similarly write off all such occurrences as giant robots. However, strictly speaking, they are not always giant, and these days are rarely robots. Okay. Very, very Snyder of you. Very Zack Snyder of you. Okay. No way! I literally, it's right there. It's right there. Moe is a fetishistic obsession with a particular topic or hobby. Obsession? Fetishistic, first of all. I could have sworn it's supposed to mean a feeling, but alright. Here we go. As for what mecha is actually applying and can sell tie-in toys, just watch the 5-hour Argon bot series on it. Yeah. Moe is a fetishistic obsession with a particular topic or hobby, entering modern parlance as a replacement for otaku. No? Huh? What? They've never... What? Entering modern parlance as a replacement for otaku? When? How? Why? Huh? I've never heard that before. This is blowing my mind. This is blowing my mind a little bit. Toshio Okada has written that a Moe fan need only be obsessed while a true otaku... Oh yeah, let's listen to Toshio Okada, the Yota King. Oh, these Moe with the fucking... Alright. Best work of writing on mecha probably anywhere. Yeah, is he finished with it? Is it a complete work? I imagine is. He hasn't put out a new part in a while. So I wonder if he's finished with it. I thought Moe's was sort of a style thing. I thought it was too. Toshio Okada has written that a Moe fan need only be obsessed, while a true otaku actually develops background knowledge. Okay. Its etymology here is related to moeru, to burn with enthusiastic fervor. Also often associated in anime fandom with one particular kind of moe. Also often associated in anime fandom with one particular kind of moe, an intense attraction to cartoon characters, particularly young and innocent girls that need to be nurtured and may be looking for a brotherly protector. That's very hyper-specific, it seems. Replacement for otaku? It's like, yeah, I'll die! Hey! Good to see you. I guess its etymology here is more related to... Okay. Its etymology here, which is the intense attraction to cartoon characters, is more related to moederu, or to sprout or bud. Unhelpfully, it is also an acronym for an anime company. Whatever! Who cares, Master of Entertainment? Who cares? Such popular confusions popular confusions. Okay, popular confusions over what Japanese and other foreign terms actually mean is precisely why we have avoided them in the body of this book. I see. So they're literally kind of lampshading their own. They have this definition that I've never heard of. Granted, I'm one person. I would have to, I don't know, make a survey or something of like, what do you think moe means? Because the thing is, right? Yes, these terms are very fluid and they change with the times and they can mean different things and they can morph to. They have origins, and I think it's great to have an understanding of what those origins are. I think it's great that they mention that it stems from moeru, and that makes sense in my mind. But like, when? I don't understand. It's almost been an hour, and I'm only reading this article here. Sorry if I'm not. This will be an extra special edition, I guess, like a 3-hour thing. Whatever. Hope you guys enjoy. I wonder if that whole moe versus otaku thing is related to the moe versus mecha conflict that supposedly took place in Akihabara in the mid-2000s. Never heard of it. Interesting. That would be interesting if that had some correlation to it. But yeah, they're just lampshading in there with the moe definition. Interesting. Netorare refers to cuckoldry, the experience of having one's lover taken away by another, and a recurring trope in anime pornography, sometimes abbreviated as NTR. Ah! I've heard of that term. I've heard of NTR at least, even as someone who doesn't watch any hentai. Netorare is what it's abbreviating. Interesting. OP refers. I'm actually kind of happy to think. Oh man. OP refers to the. This feels like getting your hand caught in the cookie jar, because I use this term all the time. Because it's, you don't want to just say opening theme. The OP refers to the opening theme to a show, as contrasted with the ED, or ending theme. Although the trend in American TV is toward short, punchy OPs that do not permit viewers the opportunity to grow bored and surf to another channel, Japanese broadcasting favors longer sequences. This permits a promotional showcase for all-important song tie-ins, and in anime also permits a reduction in the length of new animation required for a weekly episode. I agree, but still cool. Participation of a record company is often a key component of any anime's production committee, and is usually traded for prominent music tracks from the company's artists. Of course they're going to be super cynical about like minute 30. Although I think, I don't know if it came from anime history or where Matteo Wilds got the information from, but the fact that what is his name? The guy who localized Astro Boy, Fred Ladd? I might be mistaking it from someone else. It's so weird explaining how to watch Gundam. Yeah. Yeah. The fact that like OPs came from America, I don't know. But it's true that maybe that the minute 30 thing is their invention. Otaku has a highly complex derivation. What is this that you're reading right now, by the way? I'm reading one of their articles. They have a lot of articles scattered in the 3rd edition of the Encyclopedia. The 1st edition doesn't have any of these things, and they pretty much completely ignore all of these terms. They try to avoid them at all costs, for the most part. But the 3rd edition, they have a lot of these different articles about censorship, about these other things. Like, let me pull up my notes. I have a whole list, actually, at the top. So they have one about documentaries and history, early anime, erotica, everyday, fandom, fantasy. They have a lot of these different categories. And so this is one of them called Argot and Jargon, which is, pretty much exactly what it sounds like. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah. But we're just reading through it, and it's only been, it's been almost an hour, and we still got a little ways to go in it. There's still acronyms as well. I'll just keep, I think we're just going to plow through the rest of these. Trying not to make this over an hour, but yeah, we're gonna read through these. Highly complex derivation, and now means geek, nerd, or obsessive fan of any hobby or pursuit in Japanese. It does not have these negative connotations in Western fandom. They didn't even lay geek, nerd, or obsessive fan. They're not even negative terms here. Anyway, we've even turned those into not so negative terms in recent years, where it simply means as an anime manga fan, particularly a devoted or knowledgeable one. The word was first used in its modern sense in an investigation of Otaku, Otaku no Kenkyu, a series of columns published by Akio Nakamori in 1983. This was later parodied in Otaku no Video, the first anime made by fans for fans about fans. It's certainly early. Otaku no Video, the first anime made by fans for fans about fans. Probably? That's 91, fellas. Are we sure that there wasn't any other ones? I can't think of any personally, actually. I would say Daikon is probably closer, because it was made by fans, for fans. About fans? The about fans is a little wonky. But it is sort of about fans in the way that there's a lot of the whatever. Hey, well, thanks. I like your AMVs. Yeah. I always just recommend people watch Gundam in release order for everything, and you see them watch everything else whenever they want. Yep. Pretty easy. Yeah. Pro is shorthand for production, and often appears in studio documentation for animation companies such as Mushi Pro, Tezuka Pro, or Show Pro, or A Pro. They don't list A Pro here, but A Pro is one of them. Pseudo manga is a Western comic that pretends to be a manga. I've never heard of that term personally, but they're just kind of digging them into... They already talked about manga that isn't actually manga. Why are they making another article about this? Maybe there's more to it? The term is highly unpopular with Western fans. Okay? Since they feel it implies that some Western creators are trying to pass their work off as something it isn't. Other attempts to categorize the phenomenon include American-style manga or Amerimanga, much to the annoyance of non-Americans, and original English language OEL, for which see below under acronyms and initials. RIS work, RIS work. Sometimes mistranslated as lease work, the use of a telop, or television opaque projector, aka an optical printer, to add certain video effects, particularly rain, mist, or certain fore and background projections. Nice! Interesting. So that's probably like the way they got like the beams of light with Dazaki maybe. Largely superseded in modern anime thanks to digital animation, but often still used to add the closing credits to some anime. All art should be viewed in release order. Good take. Interesting take. I think there could be some series that challenge that, but yeah. I think what they mean by for fans, made by fans, about fans, is it's a Gainax anime that explains a short period compared to other anime that just records the period, unlike a Otaku no Video, where you're living in the period more or less. Yeah. SD means super deformed, right? We talked about that. Seiyu means voice actor. Amerimanga means voice actor and refers to the people who provide voices for the animated characters. In order to maximize profits and give magazines something to write about, the Japanese anime press began to include Seiyu coverage in the 80s, particularly when Seiyu singing careers generated more income, as in the case of Macross. The trend reached the Western anime press in the 90s and is most obvious at anime conventions, where the voice artists responsible for localizing dubs are often feted as far more accessible celebrities than the remote Japanese. Fair. I usually agree, but a lot of people aren't going to like Gundam 79. It's better to hook first, and they'll actually watch a lot of it first. A lot of it. I mean, yeah, the way I got hooked into actually watching Gundam to actually doing it was seeing a cover for Gundam The Origin, and how fucking gorgeous that was, and then reading it, it looked like amazing, so I was like, I gotta watch this. So I watched the original. And that's how I got into it. Shoujo means girl in Japanese. Consequently, a shoujo anime is an anime made for girls, like Candy Candy. A bishoujo is a pretty girl, and a maho shoujo is a magical girl. An anime subgenre, tropes and transformations, dating back to Little Witch Sally and Comet-san. Shoujo-ai, or girl love, would be the logical term for a lesbian subset of anime erotica, but general usage favors yuri. Shonen means boy or youth in Japanese. A shonen anime is hence an anime made for boys or youths in their low teens. Shonen-ai, or boy love, is a homosexual subset of anime erotica. A bishonen is a pretty boy, sometimes contracted to bishi or bishi. Shotokan is a contraction of Shotaro complex, or an unhealthy obsession with little boys. It is said to derive from the boyish good looks of Shotaro Clannad, the protagonist of Gigantor. I think I've heard of that before. I think I remember hearing about that. Studio is a place where an anime is made. Do you really need to put this here? Is it really that hard to understand? I agree with Cozy for the most part, but the AU Gundams they aren't really related to anything, which is why I say watch them whenever, because they really basically standalone series. It is often assumed that such entities are large old-time Hollywood-style conglomerates, although even major anime companies only have staff levels around a couple of hundred, whereas many do the smaller studios to which they subcontract piece work are often single offices in nearby buildings. Some companies enjoy the corporate implications that come with the term. Others, particularly small design operations, prefer to use the humble office designation, or even half-jokingly use the French term atelier, an attic or garret, the traditional residence of a starving artist. VN refers to a visual novel. The 1980s saw the rise of a subgenre of niche interest computer-based role-playing games that economized on memory by using anime-style artwork. The games often feature a very limited number of choices, sometimes amounting to less of a series of narrative decisions and more like a series of personality tests designed to determine which ending best suits the player. Little dig on VNs there. Put player in quotations. Despite often using anime artists, they comprise still images. As a result, canny marketers decided not to bill them as clunky, play-on-rails text-based games, but instead as novels, which added visual and audio bonus elements. Agree. Many such virtual novels, particularly in the erotic sector, formed the basis for anime adaptations. Yaoi. I thought that was a weirdly different pronunciation, but it's not. Yaoi is a contraction of Yamamashi, Ochinashi, Iminashi. No climax, no punchline, no meaning. I have never heard that before. That's really interesting, actually. It's a contraction of Yaminashi, Yaminash, Okinash, Ochinash, Iminash. No climax, no punchline, no meaning. Originally a pejorative term for erotica about homosexual male love, created by female fans. So when it was yaoi, it's not like the extreme. It's actually more of like, oh, it's false, forget it. It's fake. It doesn't go all the way. The term has now been embraced by such fans as a badge of honor, much as geek and nerd are not regarded as insults within the SF fandom. It often offers an interesting perspective on the preoccupations of male genre fiction, as seen in Sobi Yamamoto's This Boy Can Fight Aliens. Yuri is lesbian erotica, deriving from Yurizoku or Lily Tribe, a term coined for lesbians by the editor of Barazoku, Rose Tribe, a magazine for gay men. Alright. Acronyms and initials. I'm going to try to plow through this a little quick because it's already an hour and 6 minutes. Japanese marketers often assume that their audience can be easily fooled by a few pompous acronyms. One only needs to look at the Japanese making of videos for Ghost in the Shell or Akira to see them at work. I never knew that. I don't know what they're talking about. With the coming of video in the 1980s, some companies attempted to put a positive spin on the idea of straight-to-video entertainment. Direct-to-video, DTV, no one says DTV, has a I don't think so, maybe I'm wrong, but like, it's an outdated term now at least. I've personally never heard it. Has a pejorative connotation in the Western media world, often with good reason. Consequently, marketers coined the terms original animation video (OAV) or original video animation (OVA), acronyms which seem to have survived in Western fandom because non-linguists found them easy to spot on pages of Japanese text. Fair! Honestly, probably a fair assumption to make. The anime historian Yoshiharu Tokugi suggests a slight semantic distinction between OAV and OVA, in the sense that the former is a new work made specifically for video, OAV, while the latter, OVA, may also refer to a continuation on video of a pre-existing TV show or movie franchise. That is a cool distinction. I actually really like that. I honestly really like that, to distinguish between the two. But I think that the reason the term exists is to describe the form, to understand the method in which it came out. Was it a movie that came out in theaters? Was it TV that came out on TV? Was it an OVA that was just bundled on like as an extra, or just like released only on video? I think it's important to make those distinctions. Although I like the slight discrepancy between the two there. Although I don't think it would be ever pragmatic to use, at least nowadays. Fandoms have moved on. Such spin-offs were also known in Japanese in the 1990s as aftermono, although the term now seems to have fallen out of use. Recent years have seen the creation of yet more acronyms, this time in the West. An original net animation, ONA, is an anime that premieres on the internet, whereas an AMV, anime music video, is a fan-produced music video using footage from one or more anime. The term OEL, original English language, has been used in the publishing industry as a term for pseudomanga. It presumably being far too much trouble to simply call them comics. None of these acronyms appears to be remotely useful for anything. You just said what the use was with the OAV OVA thing. None of these acronyms appear to be remotely useful for anything except misdirection, and we have not employed them in this book. Yeah, I know you haven't. Very frustratingly so. DTV was a pretty big term for a while, mostly derogatory towards Western straight-to-video movies. Oh yeah, I see. So like you calling like the Disney like the animated sequels, like Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, stuff like that. The Barbie movies. You don't see it anymore because DTV movies aren't much of a thing now. No, they're called streaming movies. You just put it straight to streaming. Anyway. Okay. Whew. I can't remember exactly, but I think I watched Double A Saint original. Yeah. Couldn't tell you. Awesome. So now we're finally going on to the notes. The notes. Here we go. Yay, opinions. But before I do that, fellas, I do kind of want to get a drink. Not hot chocolate anymore. I actually kind of feel like I've warmed up and I'm all right. I think it was a little bit of nerves, just getting back into the swing of things. But I do want to get a drink of something. So I will be right back, like 2 minutes. Okay. So I have the... Oh, wait, fellas. Sounds like a nice order. I'll get shit for this, but I'm not a fan of the Origin OVAs. Is what it is. I like the manga, though. I haven't read the full thing, but oh my god, it looks gorgeous. I watched 79 Cartoon Network back in the day. Couldn't get into it. Yeah, is what it is. Whew. Okay. Finally getting into it. I'll try to rapid fire these. I don't know if I actually want to go 3 hours or not. Okay. So there were 14 new positive reviews in this section. Calligrapher. They thought it was a delightful concept. Captain Cuppa. They thought it was cheerful, harmless adventure series. Cat Planet Cuties. Let me put the chat over here. I only watched the first 2 when they came out, but I don't like Kid Sayla's characterization because she was written more like an adult character. Oh, I also watched Wing sometime in there. Yeah. Captain Cuppa, cheerful, harmless adventure series. Cat Planet Cuties, leave you chuckling like a cat that's got a nice helping of cream. They actually really liked that one. Cat Planet Cuties. They really enjoyed that one. No qualms. Which is nice. Surprise. Good. Cat Returns, nicely crafted movie. Although they did say it was a minor... It was like, it'd be a major achievement if it wasn't Studio Ghibli. It's just treated as a... It's true. They do... It is kind of treated as a minor work. For them, for their standards at least. Yeah, well. Cat Shit 1, they did have a positive review. Compelling, funny exercise. Cazador de la Bruja. Good animation, sparky score, beautiful backgrounds, silly plot. They seem to like it. They also seem to they mentioned this thing about B-Train anime. It's like it's never below average. So I'm like, wow, they seem to actually. I know some people that aren't as fans of B-Train person, like as a whole, as a studio, I guess. It's interesting. Senko Roll they were positive about. Delivered an interesting piece. Too short for lack of character development to be a problem. It's fair. Didn't Adult Swim have the last episode of Late Night Filler? I feel like the idea of elaborating on Char's background unnecessary and little knowing too much damage. Too much damages his... Like knowing too much damages his mystique. Yeah, sure. I think I liked Origin more for the aesthetics. Like I just like seeing Yasuhiko's designs in a 2015, like a very updated style. It was very polished. And I just like seeing Gundam being taken like in that direction, I guess. Certain Scientific Railgun they liked. It's interesting. Scientific Railgun and Certain Magical Index are 2 different entries, despite being from the same franchise. Which normally they try to condense all of it into one, right? So it's like, no, but I liked that one. So it gets its own article, and we get to talk about it. Because they really don't like Index. They were very dismissive of Index. Characters given fair time, action goods, structural problems of Index fixed, right? Sharaday's Daily Joke. Lighthearted and enjoyable. This was one of the interesting ones. There's a couple I wrote down. There's a fair deal of entries in this that I was like, that's interesting. I'm actually happy I'm reading this. I'm reading this encyclopedia so thoroughly, so I can actually be introduced to a lot of these completely unknown titles to me, and I can actually like acknowledge each one and be like, oh, that sounds interesting, and not just look at the type, not just look at the cover, you know. Yeah, Daily Joke. Chevalier d'Eon. Intelligent script written for adults. It's an intelligent script written for adults. Okay. High quality mass entertainment. Yeah, they were pretty happy about that one. I'm holding off watching Senko Roll until the 3rd one comes out. Yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah, Origin looks great. I think you think of Adult Swim and Gundam tries to counterattack. I'm reading Origin as it updates monthly on Comic Walker. It's free. Is it still going? Wait. What do you mean it's still going? I thought it finished. The Origin? It's 12 volumes. I sort of swore it finished. Unless it's retelling Zeta as well. And that's cool, but I didn't know that. Yeah, Chevrolet Dayon I liked. Cheese Sweet Home, color design is enchanting. They give a little snippet in there. Chihaya Furu, they really liked it. Lovely character writing, design art, animation, quietly excellent. Yeah. Chico Phantom Thief, involving exciting show, enjoyably solid. All right. And then Chocolate Underground, a great idea, good plot, fabulous fun. Yeah, they seem to like that one too. Cool. It's done, but the free updates are still going. Oh, oh. Negative reviews. Sorry, I just kind of shotgunned all those like real quick. But you know, this is what it is. Negative reviews. I do want to spend a lot more time on like the odd choices, I think. Cafe Junkie. About as much kick as weak instant coffee. Jeez, they were especially mean in this. Like some of their burns are like really something. And like, yeah, sure, I've never heard of Cafe Junkie, and maybe it is. I think it's a porn. No, I don't think it is. It says there's no nudity to. Like, I can't tell if it's a hentai because of course. Let's look this one up. Let's see. Here we go. Ah, I see. I understand now. I'm just reading the synopsis again. Soon all four are getting much better acquainted. This two-part video. You have literally no idea. Oh, based on an erotic game. Okay. Then fair enough, I guess. Yeah. Sadly, both have about as much kick as weak instant coffee. Ooh, sick burn you got there. Canaria. Let's head back. Canaria. Compressing the game to a half-hour results in illogical solutions. Pointless. Let me just say where the pointless comes from. I don't want to just take that out of nowhere. Canaria. The game itself was intended for... Yeah, right. Regardless of whether the game may have made sense, compressing it all into less than a half hour stretches the bounds of reality and results in a series of illogical and overblown solutions that might appear wacky to fans of Excel Saga, but really just seem rather pointless. The game itself was introduced for over 18s only, implying a raciness that is strangely absent from an anime that, for once, might have actually been better served as erotica. Sheesh. Yeah, okay. Capita. Oh my gosh. This was so... I was not happy with this one. This put a really bad taste in my mouth. Look, I get it. The way, based on this, how this series looks. I can kind of see them being very dismissive of it, maybe. I kind of want to get other... Oh my gosh. That's kind of all they have. That's kind of the only image they have for it, I guess. Yeah, so Capita. Let me read... I'm not going to read the whole thing. Actually, I should read the whole thing. Let me just put back my notes. That's what it looks like, okay? Fourth grader Capeta, aka Capeta, Tyra, lives with his widowed father, who tries to break his son out of apathy one day by constructing a racing cart out of leftover work materials. Despite a bent chassis, that causes the cart to wander off course. Capita is able to steer it to victory at the local kart track. His success is witnessed by Naomi Minamoto, the East Japan Junior Kart Racing Champion, who recommends that he participate in official races. Predictable sports anime drama ensues. Based on a manga in Shonen Magazine Monthly by Masaru Soda. That's it. Oh, it's just a sports anime. The fuck? Just don't say that. You literally could have just gone. It recommends that he participates in official races based on a manga by Shonen Magazine. You didn't even have to say that. Why do you have to put in predictable sports anime drama ensues? Did you even watch the fucking show? I don't think you did. It's 52 episodes. I highly doubt that you did. Otherwise, you would have actually given your piece of. There's like I've said, there are some anime where they very clearly have seen the show and they want to give their take on it. But why put your fucking perspective, like shoehorn your fucking opinion into this, if you haven't seen it? Sorry, but I'm gonna catch up on chat. Let's put the full screen of the chat here. Yeah, I thought the manga was done. I'm actually interested. Take one YouTube, one chapter a month. Yeah, it's a retelling. Oh yeah, that's what I meant by worded it better. Yeah, y'all are just having your conversation about the origin, I guess. Never mind, sure. I'll be over here. Yeah, I was really not happy with that description. I've never seen Capita. I haven't seen the OP for it. I don't know much about it. I don't know many people that have. It's not like a title I've heard anything about either. But like, I wouldn't want any sports anime to have that shoehorned in. Not a single one. That would be. I just don't want that shit. That's the stuff that I really kind of condemn this encyclopedia for more than anything, is being very dismissive of anime when the entire point of putting it in here is to show it off and to show that it's more than just Pokemon and porn or whatever, right? You're trying to show like that there's more to it than this. But why just put the, you know? You didn't even have to put that sentence in. But you did it because I don't know why. Fucking. All right, negative certain magical index. Yeah, they did not like the show. Unfortunately, this is a harem anime. Plot and dialogue are weak, animation inconsistent. Sorry for the goddamn talk. I can't help it. No, yeah. You guys can talk about whatever. I'm happy you guys are here. I want to read a little bit of certain magical index from them. Certain. It's a lot of A's. Come on. Certain magical index. The stage is set for an epic battle between science and religion. Unfortunately, this never happens because this is a harem anime. That they literally say that. Index herself is scarcely visible for much of the run and barely influences the plot. Instead, we have a series of story arcs involving minor characters and girls throwing themselves at Toma. Despite some very interesting concepts, the plot and dialogue are weak, and the art and animation are woefully inconsistent, varying from frankly inept to very exciting. Unfortunately, the inept goes on for longer. Even if there were not so much good anime around, this is not really worth the investment of 12 hours of your life. Unless you plan to reverse engineer a couple of those fascinating ideas into your own writing. Just make it yourself. Okay. Yeah, I agree that these miss a lot of kind of stuff kind of oddly. Maybe I wouldn't know too much. Yeah, ugh. Nevertheless, the second season came out and more girl still protecting her while juggling his harem. Yeah, okay. Although I was reading online, because I was baffled to hear that it's a harem. I know about Index, but I haven't seen it, and I never knew it was like that. And you look at Mal, and it's not tagged as a harem. You look at the reviews and on Mal, and none of them say harem. And then you look up certain magical index harem to find certain Reddit posts that are like, is it a harem? And then people are like, yeah, it's kind of a harem, because I guess like. It's only technically a harem, but it doesn't really count because the girl enters his life, has a little story arc, and then leaves. She's not part of the story. It's not like a harem where he builds the ensemble, and the ensemble is present for most of the runtime, and the dynamics are as much about with each other as it is with the main character. You know, sort of different. There is a difference, I think. Anyway. Yeah, they didn't like that one. Chaos Head. Brilliant concept allowed to go astray. Madhouse should hang their heads in shame. Holy shit. It's not a harem. Yeah. Yeah. Chaos Head. There we go. They were also like really upset that it has a a semicolon in it. Haha. Get mad. Get bent. Yeah, okay. Sometimes Madhouse anime are brilliant. Sometimes they're Blade. And sometimes they fall somewhere between the two because they're trying to do too much for too many audiences at once. Chaos Head is one of those, a brilliant concept allowed to go astray in ways that should make such an experienced house hang its collective head in shame. Satoshi Kon was a master of delusional character development, as witnessed Perfect Blue and Paprika, but Inoue and Ishiyama play cheap magicians here, allowing Takumi to develop credibly, and then suddenly throwing it all away and pulling a competent, capable hero Takumi out of the hat. They also turn an exciting and credible SF concept into a harem show, only to ditch that idea too. Even the animation quality isn't up to Madhouse's usual standards. Great ideas, wild plot twists, and the odd exciting battle are no substitute for consistency and coherent plotting. Okay. Why? Can you hit this moment? Would you recommend person interested in the book to read the book and or buy it? Nah. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I do think there would be a me a few years ago that would love this book, because this was the sort of thing that I was definitely interested in when I was right at that cusp of liking anime, and I've seen anime here and there, to then transferring into I'm watching seasonals, I need to watch more, I'm getting a Mal or a Kitsu or whatever, and documenting how much I'm getting deeper into it. That transition instead of like clicking on Mal a lot and looking at a lot of covers, I think this would be really cool and I think this would be neat. But a lot of fans I don't think will like this book because of the tone. The tone is very cynical. It's a little pretentious. It's certainly interesting. Later on, there's a whole list that I'm growing of titles I've never heard of before that sound really interesting, or that they're selling really well, because they like it. And I think that's great. I don't know how many of those I'm actually going to end up watching, right? Because I just kind of have my own as someone who's in this already. But like, I think for a very niche, very narrow audience group, I would recommend this too. But really hard to recommend this to hardcore fans, and kind of weird and unnecessary to recommend this to like, oh, I like Ghibli, like the surface level fans. Yeah, here's this big book, like they're not going to be interested. But then the hardcore fan that would actually do this dive and read into some of these articles, I think they would be underwhelmed at best and leave really frustrated and irritated at worst. So there is a subset that would really like this book, but also if they have this particular kind of cynical humor, maybe if they're maybe if they're the target, like the same age as the authors, which are like over 40, maybe they'll like it because they have a similarly dismissive and cynical and pragmatic maybe view towards this media, which is mostly geared towards teens and young adults. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't seem like a harem, but I haven't seen the show in like 7 years. Didn't fans of the VN really hate Chaos Head? I've seen it or read the VN, so I don't know why, but I remember seeing a lot of that a while back. Yeah, sure, maybe. I have no idea. Yeah, but that would be my take right now on whether I would recommend to read or buy it. Yeah. Charger Girl Juden-chan. This is something they also thought was negative. Compare with Video Girl I with superior execution. I swear, I want to search Video Girl I, and I want to see how often they use that title to put down other titles. I really do. Because it seems like a pattern now. They only bring up Video Girl I when something is worse than it. Like, oh, awesome. it kind of inflates their expectations for Video Girl Eye, you know what I mean? It's a good show. I like the OVA a lot, but anyway. Cheburashka, charmingly oh, I put that. Yeah, that's a positive. Oopsie. That's not negative. Che. Yeah. So 15. That's 11. Oops. Alright. Childhood friend and classmate, only average animation, no real story and character development, because that's not why people buy porn. Yes! Then why are you complaining about it? This doesn't have character development in my porn. Like, you expecting that? Like, where is it? Childhood friend and classmate, yeah. Based on a story by Maruta with only average animation and character design, with no real story or character development, because that's not why people buy porn. Yeah, then why bring that up and like complain about it? Didn't fit, yeah. A lot of message retracted, huh? Why a lot of message retracted? Well, okay. Chitose Get You? Unfunny jailbait comedy. Yeah. This unfaked. Because, yeah, like, okay. That sounds about right. Because it's like this elementary school girl has attractions for this guy that works at a town hall, and she's trying to get his attention, and that's it. That's the thing. And it's like a 4 coma. It's like, okay. That would have been something to put in the Argot and Jargon. Chikoto's sister. Balance uncomfortably. This was weird. I kind of didn't know what they were talking about. Though at least they didn't seem to really like, I couldn't really get what they're talking about. When Haruma was a small boy, his mother miscarried on Christmas Eve. He prayed that his mother would not be well. Let me put the visuals up for this one. Let me first see if the visuals are okay. Okay. Yeah, that looks fine. Alright. When Haruma was a small boy, his mother miscarried on Christmas Eve. He prayed that his mother would be well and that one day he would have a baby sister. It seems impossible because his mother had to have a hysterectomy. Years later, when Haruma is in college, a woman on a flying motorbike turns up at Christmas claiming to be Santa Claus and gives him a little sister. Go Zappa and Sakura Takeuchi's manga began publishing in 2003. Both the manga and anime balance uncomfortably between the everyday anime comedy slice of life of a young man thrown in the deep end of child rearing as a father figure to an adoring little girl, and the perverted fantasy of a guy involving a little girl in his adult life and relationships, compared to Bunny Drop. It's a dichotomy that is never effectively resolved in a series whose technical standards are not high. Okay. I don't really fully get what they're talking about. You know what I mean? Seems pretty well rated. That's cool. It's a good anime to watch if you have time to spare. I don't know. It certainly makes it more interesting. Yeah, seems like there's a regular slice of life thing. Beyond, you know, certain OVA covers, I guess, that are on the fucking stream. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I just noticed that. I wonder why they even decided to include porn in this. This is they mostly just complain about it being porn. Yeah, I don't know. But, I get it, sort of. Where, like, they don't want to be revisionist. They don't want to just include titles that aren't, you know, that they want to include everything. But that's just it, right? Just don't complain about it. I don't get it. Get my notes. Chrono Crusade, they really didn't like Chrono Crusade, I guess. That was a big swing and a miss. They describe it like quite a lot too, which is weird. Despite a rather promising set of elements, including design work by Vandred's Kazuya Kuroda, Christian heresies in the spirit of Devilman or Evangelion, and wild mood swings in the style of Fullmetal Alchemist, this adaptation of Daisuke Moriyama's manga from Dragon Age Monthly is disappointingly less than the sum of its parts, concocting little more than a crystal alchemy of Inuyasha and Dirty Pair with optional crucifixes. The American location is squandered, the Prohibition period setting something to which the US dubbers have given more thought than the Japanese creators, and the religious references a mixture of intriguing ideas and B-movie hokum. The result is yet another gaggle of shrill anime eye candy, blowing stuff up, lacking the energy of Slayers, the chills of Hellsing, or the laughs of Phantom Quest Corps, all of which it would like to be. I've never even heard of Phantom Quest Corps. Do you even know if they were actually trying to go for those particular titles? Like that just seems like, oh, you wish you were Slayers. You know what, this is this media poison thing again. They just have seen too much stuff and they're like, oh, this is bad. It's a very classic anime fan thing to do, isn't it? Like, we really like comparing things to other I mean, I certainly am guilty of it with my first couple of videos personally. That was a big thing for me. And then, like, I was kind of seeing how arbitrary and made up a lot of these connections are. I wonder why they, yeah. It's just a weird statement to make. I don't really like that sort of, and the Chobits article, they don't necessarily do this thing where they're like, it's not as good as this show, or it's not as good as this show, it's not as good as this show. And I really hate the statement where it's like, oh, it wishes it was this thing, oh, which it would like to be, you know. And then they were negative about Cinderella Boy. Almost everything wrong about anime in the 21st century wrapped up in one forgettable package. Oh my god. And this is like a Monkey Punch title too. Let me look this up. I've looked this up before stream because I was just like, really? Boy. Let me read this one. I'm not gonna read the full. I kind of have to read the synopsis because it like bleeds into their problem with it. Hotly pursued by a group of angry arms strugglers, private investigators Ranma and Layla have what first appears to be a fatal car accident. But when Ranma wakes up, he appears unharmed, although his beautiful female partner is nowhere to be seen. He soon discovers that they are now obliged to share a body, and that Ranma transforms into Layla at the stroke of midnight, in a blatantly unoriginal attempt by Monkey Punch to impart the capers of his Lupin III with the body swap transformation of Ranma 1/2. Ranma is not all that common a name in Japan, making the comic creator's decision to name his leading man after Rumiko Takahashi's famous girl boy all the more puzzling. The rest of this obscure TV series seems similarly half-hearted. The animation is often clumsy, the action dull, and the music a feeble attempt to revisit some of the jazzy cool of Cowboy Bebop. Almost everything that is wrong about anime in the early 21st century wrapped up in one forgettable package. What? How? Like, I don't get, like, in that description of, like, oh, the animation's not great, the music's trying to be like Cowboy Bebop, and I guess it's just ripping off Ranma 1/2. This is the issue with anime today. This anime right here is what's wrong with animation today. That just seems so overblown, like comically overblown to me. I don't see it. I mean, I haven't seen the show. This tale as old as time. You know, Shabe's defending an anime he hasn't seen. I don't know. I just try to. I don't know. I just try to like take the benefit of the doubt. You know what I mean? This is just a theory, but I feel they may be a bit overly harsh because they forced themselves to watch a bunch of stuff for this that they normally would have skipped or dropped in an episode. Why didn't they say the jazzy cool of Lupin? Yeah, yeah. That's a really funny point. It's just that's Lupin. That's really funny. Actually, is the music by who's the music by? If it's Yuji Ono, I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna guffaw. It doesn't have it on Mal. Music not credited. Music not credited? Wait, no way. I'm looking on Anime News Network. There's no way the music's not credited. That would be really funny if it's actually Yuji Ono, but okay, Kensaku Tanigawa. Oh my gosh. Literally only credited for this and Solitan no Akuma, which is this show from the 90s, I guess. Never heard of. Okay. Weird. Yeah, I guess he's like just some guy. But that is funny. It's like it's jazz like Lupin. But yeah, what? I just looked it up. Ranma and a Half came out after Monkey Punch's Cinderella Boy by one. It's a one-shot. It came out after Ranma and a Half. They're just wrong. If anything, Ranma was copying the name. Oh no! Oh no! I don't know why I didn't think of that myself. Damn. Didn't this show have severe production issues? Why is it which is why it looks off? Maybe. Cinderella Boy came out in 1980 and Ranma came out in 87. That's funny. And you know, this isn't even the last article in this reading where they get super angry that something is ripping off Ranma. When, first of all, just the idea of it ripping off Ranma, I don't see it really ripping off Ranma here. Because, I mean, I have not seen Cinderella Boy, but it seems like he's sharing a body with another person. And so, does that mean it's like Birdie? Where it's like a shared consciousness? Which, by the way, they also compared to Ranma. So it's not the same thing if it's two consciousness sharing one body. It's more like, I don't know. And is it really like Ranma, right? Just because it's a gender swap? Is everything Ranma, like, is everything that gender swaps a Ranma clone, right? That's just so dumb to think that way, right? But that's funny. Oh no. Anywho, let's see. Back to the notes. Yeah. So that was weirdly hyperbolic. Mixed opinions. Oh boy. There's one in here. We'll get to. Oh my gosh. Oh, Campione. Promising start and nice touches, but it's a harem. Campione. Let me just get the proper wording for this. Ugh, I'm gonna have to. C. Campione. After promising early beginnings in which Goto acquires divine powers and a bombastic blockbuster soundtrack, as well as the potential of numerous ancient gods in need of a smackdown, Campione soon squanders its lead by getting bogged down in tedious flirting and harem management. For it is not enough for Goto merely to fight, but he must also love, fending off the advances of a series of overexcited ladies determined to augment his powers by kissing him and thereby imparting him with their own semi-divine abilities. Nice touches, like an excursion into Japanese mythology accompanied by a switch in art style, are drowned out by the usual shrill bickering about who kissed whom. There's a lot of belly aching about harems in this reading in particular. It's just an interesting concentration in this reading. A lot of like, oh, it's a harem, therefore it's bad. It gets really bad at one point. There's a particular title coming up. You probably see it right now. Whew. Kanan. Delivers on action, animation excellent, writing is less original. Okada's trademark moments of incoherence. They, that's funny, they call it trademark. Sheesh. Tough crowd. Yeah, Birdie would probably be a way better comparison. I agree Cinderella Boy is really good, but calling it everything wrong with the Transition Study is ridiculously overdramatic. I agree. Yeah, it just seemed very weirdly out of place. I didn't get that retracted message, Full Windman. I hope I do it some. Oh, it's very Bennett the Sage-esque, for lack of a better term. Kind of, yeah. He just put out a video this week of just like, it's so mask off of like. let me go pull it up. Hold on. Hey, Kenny re-released his cocktail video. Look at this. Fight, Spirit of the Sword. Garbage anime is garbage. Awful. Dude, this is like his past few videos too. Like after this Pat Labor video here, he did this assemble insert, bad clearing the low bar with the samurai. Hunt for the Sword is terrible cringe. Garbage anime is garbage. Jeez Louise, my dude. Anyway, I guess if it works. Oh well. Yeah. Yeah, I do get a lot of Sage vibes from this. Probably similar, the cynicism of the 2000s, I really think might be something similar. I think there's a trend here. I do think that a lot of fans from the 2000s and maybe like when the bubble burst or something, it maybe developed, maybe because of the bubble burst. That's a little speculation, maybe, probably not true, but there's a lot of skepticism from fans from that era. My boss had it a lot, and has since refined him. I think he's since kind of overcame it. He just had a thread about it today about how like personal fitness really got him out of that, which is interesting. He says he's lost a lot of loved ones to that cynicism, or just that maybe he's talking about something a lot deeper, and he probably is. But I think a little bit comes from that cynicism. I think Snob definitely shares that. A lot of older fans, I think, they just have this like, I don't know. Wait, he hates assemble insert? Absolutely cringe take. Yeah. They hate this one too. They hate assemble insert too, by the way. Let me see. It was one of their negative opinions, I believe. Assemble insert. Where is it? I swear assemble insert was one of the spoilers. Oh, what? I could have sworn maybe they taught. Let me see. Hold on. Assemble. No, actually, yeah, they don't, never mind, yeah, they don't, I'll trust my notes next time. They don't really give their opinion on this one. Never mind. Advancer Tina, I think, was the one I was thinking of for some reason. I think that was what it meant. Never mind. Sorry. Changed pin. Yep. Cantaloupe Collector, they said was unusual. Like, okay. Canvas, what distinguishes this anime is the particular execution of its sex scenes. So I was like, that's an opinion, and I don't think there's like a negative or positive skew towards that. Like, okay. Cat Blue Dynamite, I thought it was a missed opportunity. Shows good and bad of online animation. I kind of want to like read that one just to like. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Cat Blue should show up just like that. Cat Blue Dynamite. Yeah. In case you didn't get the cassette tape reference, we're in the dark underbelly of the late 1970s. The music flipped trousers. The show was made in 3D CGI for online streaming and originally dubbed into English. It was supposedly intended as a pilot, never made it. This first episode shows the best and worst of online animation. It has stacks of interesting ideas, fluid action scenes, and some good fights, but also cheesy acting and some poor animation. Okay. Kind of a weird, overall feels like a missed opportunity. Kind of a weird catch-all to give for online animation. You know? Interesting ideas, fluid action scenes, good fights, cheesy acting, poor animation. I guess it's not a bad summation. Hey, what's up? Glad to catch this live. Any insane takes this time? There will be one soon. I'm sorry, my mic is super loud. I saw that spike really bad. I'm now very self-conscious about it. But, yeah, there will be one soon. There wasn't anything that just like, you hated this title? You know? Although I guess, you know, let me see. I mean, Chrono Crusade was a bit of a surprise, I guess, because I've heard good things about that one. These are just positive ones, and I'm always happy when they're positive. I never really have like a, you liked that show? You know, I never have that that wrong think. I personally think it's wrong think. Children with Chase Lost voices they were mixed on too. Beautiful imagery with such a hollow heart is baffling. They seem to like Makoto Shinkai from how they were describing his stuff, but they were just like, that was weird, which is fair. I think it's a apt description for that movie. Chrome-shelled Regios, rather confusing and frustrating despite some enjoyable action. Because it's like a harem. And they were like, oh, it's some good stuff, but why does it have to be a harem? Cinnamon, fluffy, silly movie. Very brief opinion little thing. And you might just, it's more of a descriptor than an opinion maybe, but I think I am at some point, I am going to make a discernment between what's an opinion and what are the anime that they give their review on. Oh, this is a review. Like they gave their review for Index, right? But they don't give their review for Cinnamon necessarily. They just kind of mention it. Clannad, I do want to read the whole. I do want to really pick that one apart because that was probably the worst. I kind of had the knee-jerk reaction of this was the worst article I've read so far, personally, and it's actually a shock, like a even worse of a shock because this was an article they were praising in their ANN interview when they were talking about the release of the third edition. They were promoting it, and they were like, "I think Hella did a great job writing that one." They're like, "Yeah," and they were really talking about like gassing that article up, and the article is one of their worst. Like I don't know what to say. Anyway, I'll talk about that later. Classroom of Atonement might have been interesting were it not for the regular scenes of sex and abuse. So it might have been interesting if it wasn't a porn. Okay. And Claymore. That was also a really bad article. Like I read both of those and I'm like, this is miserable. Like I had a bad time. And I do think it ultimately kind of makes up for the amount of titles that just by reading the synopsis of these and learning about them, I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that one. That's interesting. Wow. And it made me want to check it out. And it wouldn't have been on my radar otherwise. But man, those last two really, really took a lot of steam out of me. Still gotta really figure this out. What is actually considered short and what's long? The Chance Pop Sessions was really short. It was like, okay, this is actually really short. Let me find it. Chance Pop Sessions. A group of girls hope to make it as performers. 16-year-old street busker Yuki, large-breasted 17-year-old Akari, and prissy company director's daughter Nozomi. Based on a 1999 radio drama. That's it. 2 sentences! And it's a 13-episode show. It's a full show. By Madhouse? Let me look it up. Is it Chance Triangle Session? Is it this one? It's based on the 99 rate. It's this show. Okay. Seems very harmless. But it's a little about, like, idols and stuff. Like, okay. But, like, nothing about this title. It's very interesting. Like, some of these are very bare, right? So I really want to, like, figure which of those are super bare and which ones, like, oh, they went in on, like, Chevalier de Dion, for example. They really go into, like, who this person was and the history, and it's a long essay type thing. So there's ones that they really care about, and they really give you some stuff, and others that they... Nothing. So I think figuring those out, maybe finding some patterns, I think would be interesting. Not very many spoilers. Just for Chobits. We learned that she is blank by blank. Like, turns out to be this. I'm like, that's a spoiler. And then Chrono Crusade, that they describe it for way too long. There's like 3 paragraphs worth of the description. I'm like, why? It's weird. It's giving me too much info. Give me some good ones. Cardfight Vanguard. I need to insist that there is an article that's perfectly fine. Like, there's no, doesn't make me want to cringe or question my sanity or anything. It really was perfectly fine. And also about a card game, right? Let me just find that one to really, like... where is it? QRS. Yeah, Cardfight Vanguard. Third timid middle schooler, Aichi, blah, 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 blah. Created by this and this. Before this anime was launched a month before with a manga version. You know, and they describe the 2 series. It was followed by this, makes new friends, and that's it. No fucking opinion of it's a card game or any bullshit. It really is just like very avid, very sensible. I learned about Cardfight Vanguard in that way, you know? Sorry if I was not catching up on the chat for a while. Why bash assemble insert? I don't know. Let me look at see the chat here. Hey, what's up? Glad to catch us live. Yeah. Did they mention the Dazaki Clannad? You'll see. Did they ever talk about Akagi? I don't think I did. Don't think so. I think they put like the genius who descended into darkness, Akagi, probably. Who wouldn't like Dazaki? Well, let's find out. Akagi. It's probably got a lot of results. 78 results, yeah. Takagi. That's the girl. Yeah, there's a lot of it. Gotta find just the... I don't know. Wait. Kaiji? Or, you know what? If we did, Fukumoto. 25 results. There's a lot of people who have that name Fukumoto, I guess. Shigeru Fukumoto, Kan Fukumoto. Love Blue Girls, Kan Fukumoto, Nobuyuki Fukumoto. It's Kaiji. Nope. It's a big article for Kaiji. That's good. I'm just like loosely skimming it to see if he talks about Akagi here. No. Dum dum dum. Kushi Fukumoto, Kan Fukumoto, Dr. Kan Fukumoto. I'm looking for Akagi. I don't see it. Akagi might not be in there. Maybe. Sheesh. Not a message redacted. I admire your dedication to thoroughly... you also added me. I remember seeing a flash of yellow. I'm sorry if let me see what you got there. I admire your dedication in thoroughly covering this text, though I am curious. It seems the articles are all pretty dated discourse, so this is more of an anomaly than a useful reference. Yeah, the big thing that we're doing this for is the first edition that came out in 2001, and I find it as a really interesting relic to know what was the information we had back then, because it does give us a hint and a glimpse of like indicating where we were going and what did we know at that time, right? Because it is hard to look back on that sort of thing in hindsight. Like, what do you not know at that point in time? And you know, I just think it is interesting as a relic. I think is something that like they're not going to make these sorts of things as much anymore. Although there are encyclopedias being made right now that are being published, but it's just in different languages. So it is less of a reference and more of an interesting anomaly. I do agree with that. I just watched Akagi. I liked it. Could tell it was made by my goodness. I should have learned Mahjong. No, you don't have to know Mahjong to watch it. It's fun. They also end the show in the middle of the game. Yeah, that game goes on for the majority of the run. It went on for like 15 years. For like hundreds of chapters. Like hundreds of chapters. There was no way they were going to finish it. It's actually a miracle they actually got to that point at all. I know, it's just, if I looked up the Japanese title, I'll probably find it. Also, it feels like a 2000s kid like Dazaki more than boomers ever will. Yeah, no, for sure. No, they definitely do. 2000s kids. I'm 1994, okay? Not that 2000s. Anyway, Hardback Vanguard was a normal article. Case of Charlotte. Also, I liked how they talked about the pre-production history, how it was actually going to be something else, and the Lolita complex origins. They were like, this is where like a lot of Lolita stuff came from. Like I did not know that. Case I want to look it up actually. Casebook. Casebook of Charlotte Holmes. It's from 1977, I know that much. Great. I'm gonna look up the Japanese name in the encyclopedia. Alright. Heika. No petite. Angie. God damn it. Oh. There we go. Angie girl. I don't know why it's Charlotte Holmes. Yeah, whatever. It's because of the localization, whatever. 3. Damn. Apparently this is all dubbed too. At least it seems that way. But yeah, interesting history about this one. Let me read it. If ever any proof was needed of the bizarre fates of Japanese animation, this show is it. Originally conceived by Takara Planning as the tale of a gypsy girl traveling Spain in search of her mother, just like 3000 Leagues in Search of Mother, it somehow transformed in pre-production into a British detective drama. The series was subsequently screened across Europe and the Arab world, but it was released in America in a strangely edited compilation in which live actors playing the great detective Sherlock Holmes and his companion Dr. Watson introduce episodes from the casebook of his supposed relative Charlotte. That interpretation had nothing to do with the original creator's intent, but then again, neither did the salacious fan base that Angie somehow attracted, making her one of the poster girls of the early Lolita complex movement in Japan. Yeah, it was just like interesting. I had never heard of this show, and then there's some interesting insight to this. That's the kind of thing that I like reading this for. I do think it's worth reading, just to kind of wade through all the crap to get to some of the stuff. It's minimal, but it is useful. You'd never get this otherwise. Hunter x Hunter Chimera Ant, but with a board game plot? Sounds like hell. I think a lot of animation fans who watch anime have a bone to pick with Dazaki because he was a big pioneer of limited animation, which they hate for some reason. Yeah, they do seem to. It would have to be. You'd have to develop this argument a little bit, and I think there's this. It's starting to get there, but they do seem to have an animosity towards TV animation and limited animation in general, of which Dazaki was the kind of the like the guy making it legit. The guy who was just like, no guys, we can totally do more of this. And they're like, no, we want to do movies. No, to stop making it legit. He's like, sorry. We could probably make it better. 2000 kids don't have to be born in 2000s, just grow up then. Okay, fair enough. Anywho, tell Mr. Wolf. Jobits is a good article because I thought it managed to completely avoid giving any opinion, and especially media poisoned article too. Yeah, I wanted to talk about that one. Jobits. Jobit. Joby, the little cute little cat. Chobin the Star Child. Jobits. There you go. I'm not going to read the synopsis, of course. Jobits is one of the landmark shows of the early 21st century. It is a successful fusion of the old-school magical girl with the artificial girlfriend of Video Girl Ai and Mahomatic, along with the harem tradition of Tenchi Muyo. Liberally dosed with a boyish obsession for tinkering with machines, it is therefore all the more impressive that it is based on a manga and young magazine, the original home of Akira, created by the all-female Clamp Collective, who demonstrate here that they can also entertain a male market with deceptive ease. Although the show's central conceit is nothing new, after all it traces a line back through Astro Boy to Pinocchio, Clamp's productions seem to hit an audience of both sexes, revisiting, for example, many of the modern romantic malaises of Eugen's Sakura Diaries, particularly when Hideki starts dating a real human girl, without any thought of cheese feelings. Occasionally this leads to bipolar behavior. The overarching romantic plots in the style of Maison Ikoku are often sacrificed for gratuitous titillation, but as with Ai Yoriaoshi, that seems to be the price animators must often pay in modern anime. Some viewers may discern an element of Lolita anime in the submissive vacancy of the Persicoms, although as with Armitage III, not all of them are female, merely often made so by market forces. As with Key the Metal Idol, the tradition of true love to cheese programming is liable to cause a radical change to her behavior, compared to Air and Deers. Chobits acknowledges the pervasive nature of information technology while emphasizing the need for real, individual, emotional responses. Hideki finally comes to terms with his feelings for his Chobit partner, and we learn that she is a... yeah, spoilers. The original Chobits manga featured cameo roles for characters from Clamp's earlier Card Captors and Angelic Layer, but these scenes were dropped from the anime adaptation. Perhaps as a sign of stretching a low budget, the series used more recap episodes than usual, pointlessly retelling the story so far on 3 occasions in its relatively short run. While such catch-up episodes were commonplace in long-running shows like Urusei Yatsura, I don't know why they chose Urusei Yatsura of all things for for describing recap episodes. Like, I don't remember it having that many. It did have 1, I think. Their use here seems more like a cynical recycling of footage. And then they talk about the 2003 shorts. 15 different anime that they cite, that they pull from, like, Chobits. Like, it's like this, 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 like this, and like this, and like this. Like, they pull in different ways. It's so media poisoned. Regardless, they did make it fairly interesting. Didn't have any of their opinion, and I was looking to see if they have how do they feel about Chobits, right? It seems popular, but maybe they don't like it. Maybe it's like creepy or something. And there is one instance of like, oh, it's kind of creepy like Chobits or something. But you know, I searched Chobits for through the rest of the encyclopedia, and the rest of it is just referencing Chobits in sort of just a constructive, just in a neutral way. So they really don't give away their opinion on this title, while also giving all of this information about it, making all these comparisons and stuff. So like, it is possible for them to make an article like this without giving their opinion. They just don't. They just make a lot of reviews a lot of the time. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of instances here where it's contradicting their case of like, oh, we had to have our opinions in this or something. No, it was a very conscious choice. And what does that lead to? We'll see. You know? That's what I'm interested in. How does the opinions really affect the whole work? I don't think these people realize that just because it's not Miyazaki tier animation doesn't mean that it isn't impressive. Yeah. Funny that they like Chobits, as I consider it Clamp's weakest work, but I'm just glad they like something. No, they don't. It's not even that they like it. It's that they are respectful of it. They're like, this is one of the landmark shows of the early 21st century. And I don't know if that's necessarily something as an opinion, per se. I think it's more like an assertion. And whether that assertion, what do you take of that assertion? At least that's how I'm seeing it. They do have respect for Chobits, at least, right? And this definitely seems to be a thing I see. There seems to be a perception that movement is inherently better than stillness, which I don't get because there isn't anything for live action. Here's the Astro has 3 recap episodes, which really isn't that much for 195. I know. I like it when they're neutral. Wish they were neutral for the whole thing. I know, right? It's crazy. Wait till you get to their opinion. On the flip side, this is like, I get maybe they like writing these sorts of things. We're gonna get into that, but let me first get to yes, titles I'm now interested in. This is a long stream. It's already 2:50. It doesn't feel like it. It's definitely going to go 3 hours, though, because we're not even at odd choices. Okay. Not going to have my reaction for a lot of these, but let me pull, like, my... If the shape changes a little bit, I apologize. Where is it? So let me pull up some titles here. Captain Cuppa. These are just titles. I didn't write down why they made me interested, but I just remember reading them and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. The world completely dried up and became a desert which villains and dangerous animals lives. Water becomes the most valuable thing in the world. Whoever controlled the wild world. It was like, yeah, that was like, they're describing it like it's basically fits in the North Star, but it's cute. And I'm like, oh, interesting. And I haven't looked at the visuals for some of these. Let me... Sabaku no Kaizoku. That's like the desert pirate. That's cool. Captain Cuppa. Let me put the chat on the side here too. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of diving for a little bit here. Let me make sure the levels are good. This is cool. I doubt this is sub, or I wonder if it's even findable. The angel has a cut on the Boru and it's by Kanda. Looks cute. Yeah? This is cool. I like the style on this one. Poppin' OP. Stop bueno. Dude! That slapped! That was really cool! Let's go! You know what I mean? It's like reading some of these articles, I was like, this looks really cool. Alright. We did do Charlotte Holmes earlier. I kind of want to look at that OP as well. I'll probably skip through it a little bit. That one was good, so I watched the whole thing. I'm going to look up the Japanese version, actually. Sheesh. Yeah. Joheiga no T-N-G. Yeah, it does look like a show from the 70s. So I guess this is sort of like the one of the progenitors of Lolita anime. Ooh, nice little, Clannad cut. Looks like fun. That looks like fun. That's cute. Did she just do the spirit gun? Yeah. That looks like fun. Cast It Away. Okay, so like, you guys have probably heard of this one, but I certainly hadn't. There it is. They were not so like, they were obviously kind of complaining that this was like a harem thing. Let me get their. It's one of the odd choices that they're like. So like you see how even Mal isn't even localizing this as Cast It Away or anything. So they have this listed as Cast Away Blue Lotus Island, and then like it's actually Casted Away or something. So the plot of this is it's a harem anime, but the guy leaps off a ship. Like he gets a fight with his dad, gets on a ship, leaves the ship, and then washes up on a desert island, and it's nothing but girls. But it's also like kind of like Japanese flavored. It's not like a desert island, not like a Castaway type of thing. Like they're not like actually like that in dire straits necessarily. Like there's a whole village and stuff like that. And oh yeah, that's not even, hold on. Nagasarete. So this is actually on Retro Crush too. Like Asian Crush. Well, yeah, Retro Crush. Yeah, it's on Retro Crush. But they describe it like, yes, we're castaways in a harem show, in the hands of people who think that a reasonable English translation of the title is casted away. This one is based on it, So that's a little like a little dig on this show, but they don't give much of their opinion further than that. But I just find it weird because nobody I've seen is referring to this show as Casted Away. You look at the OP, and it's not even like in the title. The title is just Nagasarete or whatever. Like it's just. It's just that. It's not even Casted Away or whatever. And this looks cute because like I like the style, and I also like the little animals and stuff. Like it's got like a bit of expressiveness to it, It's not just like kind of flaccid style like anime designs or something. I also like how kind of like the island has a sakura tree on it. But yeah, like the little like it looks like fun. It doesn't even look like a harem, whatever, right? Like yeah, it's a harem, but it just looks like a lot more fun, Real cute animals and stuff like that. It's like cool. Like I'm down for that, right? Anywho, down was the wolf that Duncan lives at. OP the Lolly show reminds me of Turn A. How did this lead to all the lolly crap we have now? Looks pretty innocent. Oh no, yeah, it's because the way the character is designed, the fans, I guess, they just kind of took over. Similar to how, you know, people can. It's Rule 34. You can loot anything. Yeah. Charity's Daily Joke, I thought was kind of interesting. Of course, I'm not going to show. Oh. Yeah. So, it's 3-minute episodes, and it's 365 episodes. So I guess it's like, yeah, other characters are played by the students of Kyoto University and Art and Design Department of Character Designing. It's a short comedy anime about jokes from all parts of the world. So it's like a 3-minute thing, and you know, it's probably not something you binge, right? It's probably, yeah, hit or miss, interesting variety. Yeah, enjoyment 8 out of 10. Interesting. Yeah. But that was sort of like the concept was interesting for that one. Killer whales are evil. I like the pig in the Tsuchinoko out in the OP. I know, right? Cheeky Angel. Oh yeah, so this is interesting, and I'm gonna read the odd choices in that one in the article that they have, because this is the other case that's similar to earlier. Let me find it. Cheeky. Okay. At the age of 9, precocious brawler Megumi saves a wizard from an attack in the street and is granted a single wish. Rashly neglecting to think through the small print, he demands to be the manliest man on Earth, only to be transformed into a woman instead, with his best friend Miki, the sole person remembering his original sex. Now in his mid-teens, so it's like several years later, he is a brash, tough boy still trapped in a girl's body and searching for the chance to reverse the wish, which he now regards as more like a curse. The problem is compounded by the fact that the female Megumi is extraordinarily beautiful, like his arousing the unwanted and sometimes obsessive admiration of virtually every male and many females within sight of her. Based on an quote-unquote original manga by Hiroyuki Nishimori. A particularly galling claim, since it ran in Shonen Sunday, the home of the much more famous, much longer running Ranma 1/2. That's it. That's how they end that article. Oof. This isn't very original of you. Oh, it turns into it's a girl, a guy in a girl's body. It ran in Shonen Sunday, the same magazine as the more famous and much longer running Ranma 1/2. So, the synopsis, first of all, doesn't even seem that similar to me. It's not that he's flip-flopping between a boy body and a girl body and it's a curse or whatever. He is a girl. It's just, they're just a girl for the majority of the run, to my knowledge, like it seems. Like they're just, that's just it. It's not that they revert to each one, and much longer running, okay? It ran for 20 volumes. Ranma ran for 38 volumes, which is almost twice its length. Almost twice the length. Pretty, but it's 20 volumes. That's nothing to sniff at, to me. You know, I just think it's really insulting to the show. And you know, you look at it and it's kind of wonky. It looks kind of weird, honestly. But like this character in particular, and you actually look at the show. The OP I don't think really gives away a lot of what the show is, I don't think. But let me find the this AMV that I watched. There's an AMV I found in this that I'm just like, that I watched and I was like, oh, you know what? Where is it? Oh, here it is. And this is using the OP, by the way.
ad movies and shows
Stupid
to
ad.
watch
I don't have ad block, guys. Sorry.
Welcome to Easier TV. Welcome to Google TV.
I like the. Oh yeah, this show looks cool. My God, what's the devil in Ranma? I know. But check this out, right? I'm sorry, I'm gonna skip a little bit. Like, yeah, I just think it's more of a delinquent manga, and it doesn't even feel like she's even the real focus. Like, it feels like it kind of expands from her, and they kind of just forget that initial premise, and it's just sort of like, you know, especially boyish girls feel. But they mostly focus on like this, you know what I mean? Different, you know. It's not a gag thing. I don't know. It's like saying One Piece original, no random jump, which already has the long-running Kinnikuman, another series where the main character fights. No, they literally talk about like that in Claymore. No, I'm not even kidding. That's what they do. I'm not even kidding. It's like that with boys manga, quote unquote. This is interesting. Chisui Maru. Check this out. Cute little, so I'm going to show you a little bit of it first, but then tell you why it's really interesting. So it's like a Tom and Jerry type thing, where the mosquito is trying to bite the guy's bald head and stuff, and but it does look a little familiar, artistically, if you sense it, you know, and you'll be on the right track if you get this right. You know, so like it's the way they described it. I was like, oh, that's cool. They kind of like they were describing it, and yeah, great cast of that. Yeah. 41 episodes. Rareco. You guys know who Rareco is? The Agretzko guy. Of course. And yeah, he plays the Agretzko when it's when she does the death metal screaming stuff. But yeah, he's the main guy behind Agretzko. And then yeah, his the Chi one, he's the original creator, director, and yeah, did a lot of stuff for it. So that was interesting, and I like having that kind of like learning about these preliminary stuff that they worked on before. Yeah, it looks like WarioWare. Currently watching Ranma, and this looks nothing like it. Oh yeah, like even beyond stylistically, the reason they're comparing it is because it's because of the gender swap thing. But it's not even the same functional gender swap. Like it's not like they can change from boy to girl kind of on one condition or something. Like this is a series about a boy trapped in a girl's body for what seems like the majority of the run, even before the premise, like before chapter 1 or whatever. You know, it's just different. Chocolate Underground. They did have a positive review of this movie. It's a O&A, but they kind of stitched together to be a movie. Yeah, and it's about like chocolate warfare kind of. This political party enforces all sweets have been banned, including chocolate, and then these guys they determined to eat chocolate again, and it's a whole thing. Cool little economic thing. It's fun. Yeah. They had a good review for that, so I was like, that's interesting. There's no OP for that one, because it's like a movie sort of deal. And then, yeah, Cinnamon the movie. So Cinnamon is in, like, the Sanrio little mascot. This is, like, apparently the second most popular mascot behind Hello Kitty in terms of Sanrio. But I guess you can't say that anymore because of Agretzko. Agretzko's definitely more popular nowadays. But they're right. Look at this staff list. It's directed by Kasabu Usugi and written by Mario Kata. Crazy. It's a pretty good pedigree, and it's Madhouse, I think. Yeah, Madhouse. Really interesting. So that made me interested in watching the movie, honestly. Shouldn't bring up Ranma when they talk about Wandering Sun. Oh my gosh. Could you fucking imagine? I don't think so. I doubt it, dude. I bet they bring it up when they do watch Stop Hibari-kun. Let me look up Stop Hibari-kun first, because I just want to check that one first. I'm skimming it. What? The bizarre forerunner of Tenchi Muyo, combined with a cross-dressing godfather? They don't even okay. I guess great. Great, they don't do that. Oh no, I'm looking up Wandering Sun. I doubt it. I think they like that one. I imagine they have a very tasteful thing to say about that one at least. I'm skimming, I'm not reading it. I'm just gonna look for the word Ranma. Nope, they don't mention it. Good. Yeah, no, they're not that bad. And then that would be really bad. Yeah, and then Chico Phantom Thief, which I had heard of before, which looked interesting. Chico Phantom Thief. Come on, dude. See what I mean? Like I can't properly search with their localized ass titles, man. Chico? Is that the name of the thing? Fucking Chico Phantom Thief. Oh, I have the Japanese name right there. I'm stupid, sorry. Niju Menso. And I had this in my plan to watch, which is why. Yeah. I've seen it. I'm familiar with this one. Looks pretty good. Kind of a serious one. Interesting. Kind of want to check out the OP. Menso. No Mutsume OP. Not very, doesn't seem like a very eventful OP. I like the song. That OP. That was cool. Yeah, I was interested in that. Okay. That's all the fun I'll have today. That's all the fun stuff. Like, thanks for introducing me to those titles, sort of deal. Yeah. A little bit of her in my life. Alright. Alright. Yeah, I've mentioned Cleopatra, predictable sports anime drama ensues. Capricious Robot, largely about context with creator Hoshi. I like it, but it feels really truncated. Yeah, there was just something about that one. It's a minor complaint, but it was just something that's like, you didn't seem to really talk about the shorts themselves. They really just talked about the context behind it. So I don't feel like I got as much as I could from that one. The small deal, though. Small problem. Charlotte Holmes, why is this supposed to impress anyone? We don't know. Yeah, right. There's a little dig on the synopsis, I guess, where she gets awarded this thing, and it's because it's because it's an English thing. They're like, and they're British. They're like, oh, why is this supposed to impress anyone? We don't know. It's a little dig, and I just found it a weird comment, weird snide thing. I don't get why they did that. Casted Away, like they're just kind of like. We're at the ends of the people that they think a reasonable English translation of the title is casted away. Like they're trying to like throw incompetence onto the staff here, when I actually don't know where they got this from. I don't know who's actually calling it this. I didn't find any of it. It's not like a really common weird haha localized title that a lot of people like. That's certainly the case with like Chaos Head or something with like the semicolon or whatever. But like, who actually calls it this? I don't know. Anyway, certain scientific, maybe someone does, but I can't find anything like that. Certain scientific railgun is its own entry from Index. I thought that was interesting, because it's like, oh, because you liked that one? You know? Chaos Head, they don't like the semicolon, of course. Cheeky Angel, we talked about that one. Cheese Sweet Home with the it's a particularly galling claim. It's Rama 1/2. Such charm and gentleness reminds us that Madhouse is capable of more than darkness and edge. Yeah? Are you just like, who are you talking to with this, right? This is one of those things where it's like, you are clearly trying to target this writing towards hardcore anime fans that have this assumption about Madhouse that they're all dark and brooding. Like, who has this assumption, right? People who know who Madhouse is and have a surface level understanding of them. But then you dig even deeper, the people who actually know Madhouse and like know that they have a very broad catalog. Of course they've done stuff like Cheese. They don't have an identity. They aren't just more than Darkness and Edge. They're pretty much anything. They've done the whole gambit. And people like who've dug enough deep would know this. So like you're targeting this very niche group of people that would know who Madhouse is, but not enough to make this false assumption that that's both Darkness and Edge. Such charm and gentleness reminds us that Madhouse is capable of more than Darkness and Edge. You know what I mean? IG calling it Casted Away is trying to bank off the success of Spirited Away. Oh, I guess calling it's Casted Away. I guess, which is why they're bringing it up. Maybe they don't say that that's why they're bringing it up. Like they don't say in an attempt to cash in on Spirited Away. They don't really say that, but that's a decent guess. Maybe. Choi Suji. In this instance, it seems pointless since we're dealing with cartoon figures, but maybe pervert cartoon fans need to feel validated in this way. Oh yeah, this was a weird. So okay, this is another hentai, and it's really it's really gross, and because it's like predatoring on younger girls, but the people who are predatoring them are like police officers or like people of authority, like teachers and stuff, and they're like, it's reprehensible, but like, in this instance, it seems pointless since we're dealing with cartoon figures, but maybe pervert cartoon fans need to feel validated in this way. That like, oh, it's fine that we're watching this because of the hypocrisy the adults are doing. What? First of all, what is this OV? What is this fucking hentai? Like, who cares? Like, I've never heard of this before. Like, I get it's not. I don't know. If it was something really like popular, and they're taking this like, oh, that's why it's popular or something. But I've never heard of this before. Why bring this up? You know what I mean? It was just weird. I don't know why. Just describe it and move on, or Better yet, if it sounds pretty reprehensible, just don't include it. Just don't put it in your encyclopedia. Why give it that platform? Why do I have to read about and know about this existence now? You know what I mean? I don't get it. Chubra, apparently. Let me give you the context of that one. Chubra. So let me give you the synopsis. It's a 12-episode show, full length 12-episode show from 2010. On the first day of middle school, Nayu shocks her new classmates by proclaiming the gospel of underwear and with her black lace panties. She believes all girls should know how to buy and wear properly fitting, well-chosen underwear, and starts an underwear club to achieve this. Yumi Nakata's manga may have attracted its fair share of perverts who like to read about preteen schoolgirls in lingerie, but it was actually a comedy with a serious educational purpose in helping girls deal with the issues of growing up, which the anime continues. Apparently. They just have like a one sentence apparently at the end. Don't give their opinion. Just apparently. And they're giving like the devil's advocate almost, which sounds about right. It almost kind of reminded me of Gyauko-chan and how they're dealing with like body positive, but that it's obviously not like not as cringe as like starting an underwear club and like I don't know. It does seem very obviously voyeurist. I don't know if voyeuristic's the right word. Maybe it's too strong of a word, but yeah. Weird. Apparently. Cinderella Boy, Big Bones just being Ranma again. Clannad. Here we are, fellas. Jesus Christ. Okay, let me read the whole thing. But, like, I'll give the context for this, but I'm going to give right away. There's no mention of After Story. They don't even list the Dazaki movie. There's no semblance of what it's based on. They don't say based on a visual novel, nothing. And then it's just the rest of it, which is just the writing. It's just the fucking article here. So already, they're just not functioning the way they should be as an encyclopedia, which is giving the information, right? Like, it's literally just indulging in their opinion and making a review. And let me see if if I have the quote, or maybe even the time code. Lots of arguing on whether Helen went off the deep end with Clannad. Yes! Deep end is a way to describe it. Deep end is definitely a way to describe it. Oh my god! Okay, I'm hyping it up a little much. But let's get it into it. Okay. Clannad. Tomoya Okazaki is failing at school, bereaved by his mother's death and troubled by his father's subsequent descent into alcoholism. But he somehow befriends a girl with problems of her own. Nagisa has been kept back a year because of illness, and now faces the prospect of being ostracized by her old friends because she is in a younger class. Tomoya plays along with Nagisa's desire to start a school drama club, breathing new life into his world and new confidence into his interaction with other girls. Perfectly fine synopsis. So at the moment, that's all they give for the synopsis. Once upon a time, all over the world, people in high school dreamed of what they'd do afterward, when real life began. In Japan today, people in high school watch anime about idealized high school life and dream what they'd do if high school were really like that. Meanwhile, in America, grown-up anime fans watch anime about high school and dream of going back there, or somehow transporting themselves to the altogether different Japan of everyday anime. Okay, so let's unpack that first. This does remind me of the observation that Potato Grammatic had years ago, and I think Trixie helps push, and I actually think it's a very good argument. Why is there so much school anime? There's a lot of school anime because the target demographic are people that are not in high school anymore, and they're past high school, and they're wanting to kind of relive their glory days and think that that's the best days of their lives, and they're watching an idealized version of it. This article is insisting that people in high school now are watching Clannad as they're in high school. And they're like, oh, this is what it's kind of supposed to be like. And then in the West, it's adults that are watching this and are reclaiming this. Somehow, I feel like this is just sort of painting it into... The West have this perverted sense of like, oh, like reclaiming their, like, it's sort of like framing them as delusional. Whereas Japan is like, oh, it's perfectly fine. Not completely ignoring or dismissing the idea that a lot of fans in America could themselves still be in high school when they're watching Clannad. Of which I imagine a lot of people were in high school when they watched Clannad in the United States. And then conversely, well, that's probably the case where a lot of Japanese kids were probably in high school when they were watching Clannad or playing Clannad. Again, no indication that that this is based on a visual novel, by the way. They completely ignore the fact that, like, maybe it's a lot of adults in Japan that are watching this show as a means of, like, reclaiming their glory days or something, dreaming of going back there or somehow transporting themselves to the altogether different Japan. You know what I mean? Like, what is this for? Like, it just seems very narrow-minded. It's strange. Did they not realize that grown-up anime fans in Japan do that as well as Americans? Exactly. Or the fact that, like, a lot of Western anime fans are high schoolers, or, like, the proper demographic. It's just a weird ostracization. I don't know if ostracization is the right word. It just feels like demonizing the West for the sake of it. Let me continue. But if school really were like Clannad, every girl would slot into an easily parsed cliché with some deep problem that only you could resolve compared to Bakemonogatari. Sure, like a little dig on harems. Okay, okay. Every scar and trauma of your childhood could simply be forgotten, buried under an avalanche of cute, rather than having to be lived with and worked out. Is that not what Clannad is about? I'm not a fan of Clannad like that much. Like, I liked the first season fine enough, and I actually had more problems with After Story more than a lot of people love After Story. The fact that this doesn't even acknowledge the fact that half of this show takes place outside of high school. And it's about solving these traumas and dealing with these scars and traumas of his dad being an alcoholic and his mom dying. And Nagisa having these problems with, like, being sick. And why are these other girls having issues? Every scar and trauma of your childhood could simply be forgotten? In place of what? Other people's trauma and it's about dealing with them. Clannad is directly about dealing with them. Buried under an avalanche of cute. Do you mean the ED? Or just the designs? Or just... Like, Clannad is not like a feel-good moe show the way I think, like, Lucky Star... I haven't seen Lucky Star. Or Nichijou, or... God. Take your fucking pick. Plenty of escapist anime. Plenty. Clannad is not like that, really. It's actually, like, trying to deal with some problems and stuff. It's actually being... Isn't it written by... This doesn't even have any connection to the franchise. Like, not a franchise, I guess, but, like, it's the same group as Air and Canon. And these other... like, it has its own... Not canonicity, but, like, context. There's so much more context with Clannad here. And they don't have even that in here, either. They're just doing this, like... Let me just keep reading. But, like, that was weird. To simply be forgotten, buried under an avalanche of cute, rather than having to be lived with and worked out. Clannad is a brilliantly calculated manipulation of the simple teenage emotions that lie buried deep inside most of us, the ultimate gut-wrenching riff The hook placed precisely in the song that to grab you every time. It's so brilliant and so artificial that it would be repellent if it weren't so admirable. An artifact of almost demonic potency. An artifact of almost demonic potency. It's so brilliant and artificial that it would be repellent if it weren't so admirable. That's so towing the line of being like, of like repulsion and yet being so praising and heaping praise on it. Do you like this or not? Be honest. Are they frustrated that this is like a harem visual novel that they liked? And they're frustrated by that? Like, what are they talking about? Do they not realize? High school is a structure setting with lots of events like cultural sports baked in. It writes itself. Even though I haven't seen Clannad, I can tell she has no idea what she's talking about. I know. I don't get where you're coming from. But it's just this, like, it's indulgent. This writing is indulgent. It's pretentious. Very like, I love writing this Ital. It's the most eloquent way of writing. I'm having fun writing. And it's fine to have fun writing. But there's a balance you have to figure here between, like, efficacy and, like, communicating your point versus, like, it sounds nice. A staple of Jun Maeda's work. Right, Jun Maeda. No mention of Jun Maeda. Clannad is a brilliantly calculated manipulation of the simple teenage emotions that lie buried deep inside most of us. The ultimate gut-wrenching riff. The hook placed precisely in the song to grab you every time. Are they just complaining about, like, the ED and how manipulative the, like, danga, danga, and, like, it makes you cry? Right? Like, I get that there's an argument for Clannad to be, like, cry porn. I've certainly made that argument before. But, like, no acknowledgement of the fact that Clannad kind of goes a little further than a lot of school anime, and that it takes place, half of it takes place after school. Like, not after school as in after school time, as in they graduated and school's over and they're living their real lives. They have their own apartment and they have a fucking kid. Sorry for spoilers for Clannad. Like, not gonna mention that? There's a whole paragraph left. Kyoto Animation is working here at the top of its game. It isn't just about the beauty of the animation, the meltingly sweet designs and gorgeous backgrounds. It's about the cleverness of the writing, the precision of pacing and plot, the way every note in the score works with the visuals. Timing, both in animation and soundtrack, is raised here to the level of magic, not a frame or a sound out of place. That is... Nothing has come close to the level of praise that they just gave this show right now. That is glowing. That is blindingly good praise. Heaping. Most harem anime are easily dismissible. This kind is dangerous because it's harem anime raised close to perfection. After watching it, even jaded old encyclopedists need a dose of something clever and cynical and grown up to bring us out of the clutches of this beautiful drug. It will rot your brain and make you weep with nostalgia for something you never had. End piece. I'm shocked. I find this really grossly immature, honestly. Like, this was indulgent. It's masturbatory. Am I wrong? I'm not even a big fan of, or like a hater of Clannad or anything. I swear. I wouldn't want my favorite anime to get this. I wouldn't want any anime to be talked about like this. What are you trying to say? It's about the cleverness of the writing, the precision of pacing and plot, the way every note in the score works with the visuals. Timing, both in animation and soundtrack, is raised here to the level of magic, not a frame or sound out of place. Most harem anime are easily dismissible. This kind is dangerous because it's harem anime raised close to perfection. Oh, you mean it's a good harem anime and that's a bad thing? Jesus Christ. The guy settles down! with one of them. How is it a harem anime at that point? Because there's multiple girls? And like the thing it's based on, which you don't mention by the way, has multiple roots, I guess? What are we doing? After watching it, even jaded encyclopedists need a dose of something clever. It's about the cleverness of the writing. You're contradicting yourself. It's not just about it isn't just about the beauty of the animation. It's about the cleverness of the writing. Later on, after watching it, even jaded encyclopedists need a dose of something clever. Is there a difference in clever that you are telling me? You could have used a different word. I'm sorry to just be like jabbing into like really skewering this piece right now, but it really got me tired. It really made me want to drop this whole thing. I'm exhausted. I can't what is this? It's functionless. You have a little bit of a synopsis, and then you fucking go off into this in the deep end, as they say. Lots of arguing on whether Helen went off the deep end with Clannad. And they're like, ah, ha, 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 yeah. She seemed to really have a good time with this article. I didn't. I'm just shocked. Let me read the chat. I'm not the biggest Clannad fan, but man, are their takes getting annoying. It feels like they feel the need to say something that makes themselves sound smart. Did she even watch it? The end of each girl's story is at best bittersweet. Maybe they're insecure about being emotionally invested because they believe adults liking high school anime is weak. Probably. I mean, considering that, you know, they don't like harem anime and they've this dismissal, I don't know. Maybe that prelogue of oh, Americans, blah, blah, blah. Do they mention Jumai anywhere in the encyclopedia? Probably. I can control F that in a second. So they make every compliment backhanded. Not every compliment. There's a lot of positive reviews in this encyclopedia. I can go back to my notes here. There's plenty that they're very sincere about, and they sound really. And I liked the articles. Like we were just talking about, there's some articles that they were writing, and I'm like, that sounds great. I'll check it out. Good articles. I wouldn't say every positive one necessarily means that it's a good article, but it's certainly not a bad. I would never. Maybe that's my bias, but I can't find fault in them finding good things about an anime and recommending it to people. I just can't. But being this very performative, it's too good. Ugh. Sorry, I keep doing desktop. The show is bad because it's too good. I know! What are you talking about? Is it bad that this show is good because I perceive shows like this to be bad? It is bad that this show is good because I perceive shows like this to be bad, right? I think that's what they're trying to say. They seem to believe harem anime are inherently bad for people, and one being good will do damage by making more people like it. I think so. It's pretty common for people to cope like this when it comes to liking kyoani works because they feel guilty or whatever for enjoying moe as adults. Imagine! Surprise, surprise! The deep end sounds right. Yeah, by every compliment backhand, I meant the Clannad. Just meant Clannad. Fair enough. Yeah. What a whirlwind, huh? Did I prep that? Did I give enough hype for that? That I was just guys, strap in. Oh my god! Wild. Top 10 wildest. I could probably make a separate. Maybe it'd be funny if I do a top 10 wildest articles. Top 10 absolutely batshit fucking encyclopedist articles, maybe. That'd be a little mean. I hope I'm not being too much of a dick with this writing here. I was just really exhausted. I really hate the phrase, you rot your brain and make you weep with nostalgia. Not a fan. But again, you took all of that time. You did all of that writing about this blah, 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 blah. No mention of the Dazaki movie. No mention of Jumaeda, which let's control F that. or the fact that it's based on a visual novel. It doesn't even function. You literally like ignored the functions of an encyclopedic article just for you to make your little exercise. They credit Jun Maeda for the script on Angel Beats. Let's see. I'm looking for... Nope, it's just credited for Angel Beats, and then he's just credited for the music on Clannad. And then in Little Busters, he's credited for the music. That's it. They don't mention him by their name, by them saying, like, right in their writing. They don't mention him. They don't mention Jun Maeda once. There were 4 results in the book, and they are all due to very clinical credits. He did the script. He did the music. He did the music. He did the music. That's it. Cool. Very, very, very epic. Claymore. This is another one. I'm not as mad about this one. Still not happy with it, though. Humans and demonic... I don't even want to read the whole thing. I don't even want to read the whole thing. It's 3 hours. We're over 3 hours. Let me just go over my problem a little. They have this quote. Norihiro Yagi's 2001 manga is still running in Japan, and its devoted fan base lapped up this TV version. The problem, as with all TV anime, is of compressing a long story arc with plenty of chances to fill in detail into a series of bite-sized chunks. They're just complaining about TV anime. They don't even say that Claymore has pacing issues or, like, what are you trying to say? Compressing a lot, it's not a complete adaptation? Like, it wouldn't have mattered if it was a TV series, an OVA, or a movie. It's a long-running manga, of course. Like, TV's actually kind of the best bet that it has of getting fully animated in any capacity. Didn't they like Cat Planet Cuties? The whiplash is painful. I know! I mean, maybe it's someone else. Maybe Clements wrote the Cat Planet Cuties article, or maybe somebody else did for them, like a guest writer. There's no way to tell. Or maybe Helen wrote it. That'd be fine too. The only reason we know Helen wrote the Clannad one is because she took credit for it in this A&N podcast. I want to listen to that A&N podcast afterwards to get the context for it, and maybe they have a little more explanation. Explain yourself, please. TBH reminds me of when I was 14 and I thought Moe was ruining anime because it meant that anime wasn't about cool mecha or something. Exactly. Very 2012 feeling opinion. Very 2000s feeling opinion. Very 90s perhaps. It's pervasive. Very pervasive. But yeah, the weird dig at TV anime for no... They didn't really back that up, really. The animators should have been... Oh yeah. Let me read that. Okay. True, the temptation to animate sword fights cheaply leads to many of the action sequences consisting of flashing lines across blank screens. The animators should have been made to watch Sword of the Stranger and Ninja Scroll, and either done it right or done less of it better. So, are you saying Ninja Scroll and Sword of the Stranger don't flash a blade across the screen like that? I don't put it past the... It's great. I love both. I don't really like... I like Ninja Scroll a lot. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of Sword of the Stranger so much. Like, yeah, the final battle is cool, but the rest of the movie... It's a very tricksy opinion, I know. But, okay. Where is I at? Yeah. Kind of a weird dig. Weird choice for me. Everyone is... Yeah. Here's what you were talking about earlier, about generalizing. What was the quote? Let me read the comment from before. Oh, God damn it. Let me read the comment from before. I can't find it. Oh well. The progression of battles with bigger and bigger foes, building up the fighter's power, strength, and technique through torture, pain, and survival, is the classic boys anime journey from Dragon Ball to Bleach and Naruto. Same path, same challenges, same techniques of resolving them. The range of claymores with special fighting techniques and skills also harks back to classic boys series. You can't help but think of Getter Robo when watching the drill arm sequences. Even the character development runs along boys anime lines. Everyone, even slightly interesting or heroic, has some dark trauma in childhood. The strongest of warriors is a monster without a human relationship to keep him or her grounded. Nothing new here then, and certainly nothing to boost anime's much vaunted feminist credentials, but a decorative reversing of the classic slugfest with extra eye candy. Repeat that again. The strongest of warriors is a monster without a human relationship to keep him or her grounded. The way they're wording that is making it sound like that's a generalization of all shonen anime, of all boys anime, I'm sorry. Even though, to my knowledge, the majority of them are taking that exact idea and contradicting it. Like, the strongest of warriors, like, the villains are monsters without a human relationship to keep them grounded. And the heroes are the ones that they're disproving that they're not the strongest. The strongest of warriors is a monster. They're saying here the strongest of warriors is a monster without a human relationship to keep him or her grounded. But they're not. The strongest that's prevailing in shonen series are the people that have people to protect. Like the people who they're there to protect, and they're not monsters. Rurouni Kenshin. He's not like a cold-blooded killer. He's stronger when he's Kenshin. And he has someone to protect, right? He's not falling into those monstrous. He's not the strong. It's like, you're stronger when you're the Batosai, but he's not, right? The strongest of warriors is a monster without human relation. No, that's literally not even true. But unless they're referring to specifically Clannad, and then but even then they're just like, nothing new here then. Nah, it's the same thing. Oh, and also this, like, the very easy complaint that a lot of, like, newbie fans kind of have, where, like, why does every shonen villain and protagonist have a tragic backstory? I don't know, maybe because it makes them interesting. Maybe because all of us have traumatic backstories in one way or another, in one shape or another, that informs our current selves. Maybe that's just realistic human tendency to, like, have something. Oh, this happened to me when I was a kid. I tripped, and then I thought, oh, I'll never trip again. That's just human. That's not like a cliche. That's just it. Like, are you complaining that children have hardships and then they can only have problems when they're adults or something? Like, it would be boring if the person grew up and then absolutely nothing happened to them and they didn't have any, like, that would make them not interesting. Like, of course they're interesting because of those things. Such a dumb complaint. TBH, the final scene seems kind of like the point of Sword of the Stranger. I mean, sure. Sword of the Stranger and Ninja Scroll are movies. Like, it's a TV anime, dude. This is going to look like the movie most of the time. That's not even true in Claymore. Oh, yeah. See, I have no idea about Claymore, so, like, if there was something to say about with Claymore, then maybe that's one thing. But to compare it to Naruto and if you're gonna bring shonen anime into this wheelhouse, you're gonna bring them into the discussion. I've been watching a lot of them this year, and I've been watching them for a couple of years. I'm not like a, I don't know, Anyway, yeah, but just the little digs like that, and the way they were describing the static pans, they just felt very particularly unpleasant to read, overly indulgent and cynical. I didn't like them. Not fun. Still, there are good articles. I wish the rest of them were like that. I don't know the proportion yet, right? The proportion is going to come once I read all of it. And once I have an idea of, like, this is how many ones are particularly not great, This is how many ones are. I have one problem, but they're fine. These are the ones that I have nothing to say about them. They seem perfectly fine. I just kind of read them and that was it. Very, very unexpected. And there's some that are kind of above average. I'm like, this is actually like really interesting. I'm glad I read this. It might just be a very even distribution at the end. And the negative ones are the ones that stick out, because that's just what happens with criticism like this. You know, the kind of the negative things are always what stick out to you in your mind. You don't appreciate, like the people who are complaining about the Cowboy Bebop live action, they're just like, all they see are the flaws. All they see. They can't look past anything. They can't think anything else. You know? And I get it. That's why I'm not gonna watch it. That's why I'm not gonna bother. I like Bebop too much to like. I'm just gonna be distracted by the live action one. I'm just gonna be like, yeah. I would be sitting there watching it, even if I had just rewatched Bebop, which it's not really in my nature to do, to watch the close related thing before watching this, either for context or something. I mean, sometimes I do, but like, I wouldn't do something like watch all of Bebop and then go watch this live action thing and expect that to go well. But and then if I don't do that, I'm like, okay, I haven't seen Bebop in a few years. Let me watch this live action thing. I know myself. I would sit there and be like, I would rather just watch Bebop, and I'd turn it off, and I'd go watch Bebop. That's it. So I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna bother. Well, I would give it a chance. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's anything. I have no opinion about it. I mean, I actually do agree with not liking Claymore, not liking the Claymore TV anime. They make a lot of weird, unfair comparisons or just untrue generalizations about unrelated stuff when talking about it. Yeah, it's just not like a good approach, right? I've been talking for straight 3 hours. Woo! Woo! Streaming! Yay! Fun. Well, it's 9:13. I'm still awake. I'm wide awake. I still got a lot of Naruto to watch. Man, I'm behind. I got to the Infinite Tsukiyomi part, so I'm just like. Anyway, I think I'm getting used to the looking at the webcam and talking and trusting myself, and not like. Although I do think I did a lot of this, like side-eyeing myself, like whatever. But yeah, we were at now at an open read. So there's anything from the C section, from C to Cleopatra, that you're wondering if they're in it. If you want me to read the article in full, let me know. I'll record for a few more minutes, so around like 3 hours, 30 minutes or so. Even if you don't like it, it's just false. Every major character in Claymore has people they care about. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Yeah. Order me my show. And along with me. So yeah, let me know if you guys have articles you want me to read or talk more about. I'm gonna chill for a little bit. I'm just looking around Twitter and stuff. But you know, talk. I think we really exhausted this one. I think it was a pretty good. I have some chicken here. Pretty good stream overall. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. I'm gonna be right back for a sec. I don't want to like eat on stream. Yeah, the Toei Ianakiko, which looks ass, by the way. No offense if you like that movie or something. Like, let me show you guys this. I guess I'll look up what you said there. Your spelling of it. Bico Remy.
I decided to start selling merch about a year ago, and the support from my fans has been noticed.
Yay! Good for you. You say anything about City Hunter? Oh yeah. I don't think they give an opinion though. Hey! This was so weird for me to find after having seen Remy already. Alright, yeah, I can retry it for you. I like that one. They probably have it in the same box as Remy. So yes, they have a whole article about Nobody's Boy Remy, which is listed as 1970. So there's the movie, there's the 1977 Dazaki show, and then there's the Masterpiece Theater version with Remy being a girl. Oh, actually no, that's Nobody's Girl. No, the Perrine Monogatari is its own thing from '78. So yeah, they do have all those versions, all in one section. There's something weird about the motion of this, and also knowing that the weird, like just fell in a few seconds ago in the trailer. Oh, gorgeous. Sometimes it looks good, but then like you remember that that Dazaki made one, and you're like, oh, it's so much better. Oh my god. No, I'm sorry. That's just a tee-hee from me. So you guys want to see City Hunter and Chihaya Furu? Well, let's check them out. City Hunter. Shitty Hunter. Ryo Saiba is a professional sweeper, an equalizer who packs a .357 Magnum and specializes in bodyguard details in the Tokyo district of Shinjuku, where he can be reached through coded messages on the train station billboard. Promising his dying partner Hideyuki that he will look after Kaori, Hideyuki's sister, the terminally lecherous Ryo is lumbered with a prim female assistant who nevertheless remains eternally jealous of his conquests. Tsukase Hojo's 1985 Shonen Jump comic proved even more successful than Cat's Eye, running for a total of 35 volumes. The regular cast of characters, including Ryo, surrogate wife-daughter Kaori, policewoman Saiko, and rival investigator Reika, all gorgeous of course, would be reprised for TV, directed by Cat's Eye alumnus Kodama. The TV edition kept Ryo's relationships with his female clients unconsummated, preferring instead to truncate many seductions with farce and slapstick. Steadily gaining popularity, the series moved from 6 to 7 o'clock after 51 episodes. An 87-minute theatrical film was released in the US as 35.7 Magnum and featured beautiful European pianist Nina trying to track down her father amid a then topical backdrop inspired by the reunification of East and West Germany. In typical City Hunter setup, Nina is the unwitting mule for a vital microchip planted on her by a communist agent shortly before his own death. Ryo takes one deceptively simple mission only to find himself deep over his head in another. With new theme music but otherwise unchanged, seasons 2 and 3 introduced occasional hour-long special episodes that were eventually to become franchise's medium of choice. Bay City Wars features a $1 million plot, pits City Hunter 91 was the fourth and final TV series, ending after 13 episodes. However, in 1993, the franchise was rejuvenated by Wang Jing's live-action film, which cleverly exploited the show's popularity abroad by casting big Chinese names in the lead roles: Jackie Chan as Ryo and a Chinese Ghost Stories Wang Shuzhan as Kaori. One of the few anime series brought back regularly for TV specials. Ryo's more recent one-shot TV adventures have included The Secret Service, blah blah blah, and Goodbye My Sweetheart, which blah 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 blah, which imitates. Actually, this is interesting. Which imitates Goodbye My Sweetheart, which imitates Patlabor 2 with its tale of a disgruntled soldier bringing his war experiences to Tokyo. I think they're just talking about similarities in plot, not in tone, maybe. And then the end of Ryo Saiba quite patently wasn't. It's likely that City Hunter will be back before long. In the meantime, the special format has been retroactively imposed upon the original series in Japan, now shuffled into 20 video compilations. At least part of the City Hunter franchise lives on in Hojo's Angel Heart, in which a former assassin receives a prominent character's heart in a transplant operation. No opinion, and a lot of database, and a little weirdly describing a lot of the individual specials, but interesting. Informative. Interesting. Oh, I don't like that movie. I watched it after seeing the Tazaki one. Yeah. The trailer is really loud in the stream. Oh, I'm sorry. I watched the Slam Dunk anime like a year ago, but I finally started reading the manga. Hell yeah. Just where it picks up. Definitely read where it picks up, because the last two games are not to be missed. Oh my god. Love City Hunter and Shia Furu. The dog falling in the stream makes it think of the World War II propaganda. Yeah. The main show is great, but Bay City Wars is the only worthwhile OVA. Okay. I don't know if I would describe Kaori as prim, but otherwise not a bad description. Yeah. Chi Hayafuru. I like that one. And I like the article too. Chi. Ha. Chiha. Chiha. Chihaya Furo. Chihaya is a bright, cheerful tomboy who dreams that her beautiful sister may one day become Japan's top model. Then she meets someone who tells her that a dream is something she should work to achieve for herself, not piggyback on someone else's. This revives her interest in karata, a traditional Japanese card game based on classical poetry. She made a pact with two friends in middle school that they'd meet up as top-class karata players. Can she get a school club going and become a top player? A card game that depends on a knowledge of classical Japanese poetry is obviously going to lack something in the action stakes, but is ultimately no less weird than the taxonomies and rules required to understand Yu-Gi-Oh! But the charm of this gem of a series is much more seductive. The characters, the beautiful art, and the passion for beauty that runs through it are very hard to resist. The lovely character writing gives even the minor cast members their own personalities and the design, art, and animation are quietly excellent, showing Madhouse at its best. Yuki Suetsugu's manga commenced publication in 2008 and is still running. And its ongoing popularity led to another season from the same team in 2013, as well as season 3. But yeah, perfectly fine article. Perfectly fine and good. It was great. Yeah. It's just really hard to I'm learning a lot. I'm actually learning an interesting deal when it comes to media criticism. I think there's something really interesting to be said with when there's such a mass of things to talk about, it ends up that you only talk about the negative stuff because that's the stuff that sticks out to you. Or maybe it's the positive stuff that sticks out if you have a pessimistic point of view and the positive stuff is, oh, wow, it's actually not as bad as I thought it would be, maybe. Did they have an article about Crest of the Stars? Yes, they did. Crest Star. Although I don't think I've read it yet. I haven't read this one myself, because it's later on. Yes, this is in the first edition. I haven't compared it yet, but here's the article. I've not read this yet. In Imperial Year 945, peace-loving planet Martine is occupied by the humankind empire Ab. Yeah, I remember that. The genetically engineered descendants of a slave species designed for space exploration. who had revolted against their human masters and fled to space. Now the long-lived elfin rulers of their own empire, they demand Martine's surrender. President Rock Lynn deactivates the defenses to avoid a war he cannot win. In return, his family is raised to the Ob aristocracy, and Martine is given to them to rule. 7 years later, the president's son, Jinto, who had been sent into exile on an Ob-ruled human world to protect his life from revenge, prepares to journey to the heart of Ob territory to complete his studies and his required term of service in the Ob Star Forces. He is picked up at the port by the beautiful 16-year-old Ob military cadet Lafiel, junior member of the crew of the patrol ship Gosroth. Midway through their journey, the Gosroth is ambushed by ships of the United Mankind in the opening shots of a war between the humankind empire Ob and the four major human polities. Jinto and Lafiel are sent to make their way to safety alone, which involves escaping from Baron Febdosh's territory during an attempt to refuel and evading the troops of United Mankind when the planet they land on is captured. Crest of the Stars is one of the better hard anime sci-fi series, though viewers wanting wall-to-wall action should look elsewhere, as the plot proceeds at a deliberate pace, and the show places emphasis on character development. The series follows Hiroyuki Morioka's original novels closely, painstakingly recreating the Ob's alien language, though it suffers from squandering much of its budget on showy computer graphics for the first episode, and it is soon reduced to cut-rate animation. The series was also released as a 120-minute movie, with a substantial amount of new animation. Oh. The first series was followed by a television special in 2000, Birth, not the birth you're thinking of, which detailed a portion of Lafiel's parents' honeymoon. Dubus and Plakia are spending their time away wandering in space and encounter a lost ship orbiting a nebula. When they begin to explore it, they find that it is not quite as dead as it first seemed. This was shown at the same time as a 90-minute condensed version of the first series and immediately preceding the second series. The 13-episode TV series Banner of the Stars reunites Jinto and Lafiel 3 years later when he finds a position as a supply officer on her ship, the Bass Royal. There are elements, albeit serious ones, of irresponsible Captain Tylor. And the low-key, that's not a bad comparison, as the lowly cadet is paired with the high-class princess, while their small detachment is sent to defend the critical Laptic Gate, even though their admiral is from a family renowned for its mental instability. Lafiel is the captain of the ship, whereas Jiro starts the series in the position normally occupied by a disposable Star Trek red shirt. I think he's more like a yellow shirt. He's more like one of the people in the computers. There's a small 10-episode series in which Lafiel is assigned to become an interim territorial governor on the newly conquered Lobnus II, which turns out to be a prison world where she and Jinto must balance the competing demands of the prisoners and the guard staff and attempt to ward off a rebellion by the former. The Bandai release for this iteration included a bonus episode titled Passage of the Stars Birth, a 25-minute prequel about Lafiel's father. Banners of the Star 3, released straight to video, details Jinto's assignment as a governor on yet another newly conquered world, although his rise through the ranks of the race that conquered his own planet is starting to rankle. That's it. Not bad. I dug it. Sorry that was a little sleepy, you know? It's just, I didn't have much reaction to that. Pretty accurate. Made me remember how much I completely forgot about Banner 2 and Banner 3. God. Those ones got... I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I felt like I was kind of over it after that point. Personally. I did like Crest. I do recommend Crest. It was cool. I do want to see Bob's review on it, actually. I haven't seen it yet. I am interested. I think he read the novels, too, which is interesting. Yeah. But we're about 3.5 hours in. Easily the longest stream yet. Yeah, it's going to be longer and longer every time. And yeah. I think that's going to do it, honestly. 4 hours. 4 hours, 30 minutes, and 6 seconds. What does that have to do with anything? I'm just looking at the stream or something. Anyway, anybody had any last minute things or last minute comments and things like that? But other than that, I'm feeling good to call it there. It's exactly 9:30 for me. So, let me know if you're good with that. Any final thoughts and opinions and stuff? Ooh, I'm not gonna put the be right back thing because I'm gonna leave in a second. But yeah, good stream. I think it was padded, of course, because of the hour-long Argot and Jargon section. Really not a bad description, not much opinion, but probably a good thing. Yeah, like that's fine. That's okay. I wasn't expecting an opinion, right? It might be interesting to see which ones, how many articles are enhanced by an opinion. Like this article was better because it had an opinion, or made the article worse because it had an opinion. It would be interesting to see. So far, I would say the latter. Personally, every time they put in their opinion, it's like, oh, you know, personally. All right, but it looks like everyone's good. Let me end it where you got it. You guys have a good week. Yo, peace. I have to hold on. There, maybe I'm gonna go like this. Yo, peace.